LG का कहना है कि अब ये फीचर शायद जल्द ही इंट्रोड्यूस हो सकता है। After the Microsoft global outage of July 19th, US-based security firm Crowdstrike ने finally एक report publish करी है detailing how their update caused crashes and boot loops in the operating system globally. The company published a post-incident report highlighting that its artificial intelligence system called the Falcon sensor caused an error. क्राउडस्ट्राइक का कहना है कि फैल्कन मशीन लर्निंग मॉडल्स रन करता है जो ऑटोमेटिकली लेटेस्ट एंड एडवांस थ्रेट्स को आइडेंटिफाई करके उनकी रेमेडीज डिप्लॉय कर देता है। बट 19 जुलाई से कुछ पहले ही डिटेक्शन फंक्शनैलिटी ने एक नया टेम्पलेट टाइप पुश कर दिया था टू मिलियंस ऑफ कंप्यूटर्स ग्लोबली व्हिच कॉज द क्रैशेस। Crowdstrike ने कहा है that it has focused on increased testing and validation before pushing updates in the future. Further, उन्होंने future updates को phased manner में रिलीज करने की बात भी कही है to minimize similar errors in the future. Google has announced that their AI platform Gemini will now help make our smart homes even smarter. अपने IO Connect इवेंट पे गूगल ने अपने ऑलमोस्ट हर प्रोडक्ट में Gemini एंड AI कैपेबिलिटीज की इंटीग्रेशन अनाउंस करी थी। नाउ देव रिलीज अ न्यू नेस्ट लर्निंग थर्मोस्टैट एंड अ न्यू गूगल टीवी स्ट्रीमर। दोनों प्रोडक्ट्स Gemini मॉडल्स की मदद से स्मार्टर देन एवर एंड सिंपलर टू यूज देन बिफोर क्लेम किए जा रहे हैं। Similar integrations can also be found in Google Home devices. Google Nest cameras will now offer video segmentation and identification, यानी detailed and contextual information जब कोई activity detect होगी। Automations में Gemini के integration की वजह से the whole long process of setting up seems to be gone, with simple voice prompts to Gemini helping set these up. Expect similar updates and functionalities from Google Assistant as well.
Okay, so friends, the first story today is about Vivo completing its 10 years in India. Basically, Vivo is celebrating their 10th anniversary. It was 2014 जब Vivo Indian market में आया था और अभी 10 सालों में they have grown a lot. And इसी जर्नी को showcase करने के लिए Vivo had an event. It was called the Vivo Tech Day. And यहाँ पे हमने देखा all the technology that goes behind all these Vivo smartphones. Basically, if you talk about the Zeiss collaboration, या अगर हम बात करते हैं द स्ट्रेंथ्स ऑफ शॉर्ट जेनरेशन ग्लास, या फिर अगर हम बात कर लें आईकू की विच इज अ सब ब्रांड ऑफ वीवो, दैट हाउ दे आर एनहांसिंग देयर प्रोडक्ट्स। और इनफैक्ट वीवो ने शोकेस किया कि कैसे इंडिया सेंट्रिक प्रोडक्ट्स वो लेके आते हैं while collaborating with multiple Indian partners. So let's have a closer look at this Vivo Tech Day 2024.
Vivo ने अपनी 10th एनिवर्सरी इन इंडिया को धूमधाम से मनाया Vivo Tech Day 2024 में अपने स्मार्टफोन्स की कमाल की टेक्नोलॉजी शोकेस करते हुए। Zeiss के साथ पार्टनरशिप में Vivo ने कैमरा परफॉर्मेंस को एक नया लेवल दिया है। T-Star कोटिंग, Zeiss APO टेलीफोटो लेंस और मल्टीफोकल पोर्ट्रेट्स जैसे फीचर्स से आपके फोटोज होंगे एकदम प्रोफेशनल। नया V3 Plus चिप 6 नैनोमीटर आर्किटेक्चर के साथ AI वीडियो एल्गोरिथम्स को बूस्ट करता है और पावर कंजम्पशन कम करता है। सोनी के साथ मिलकर बनाया गया 50 मेगापिक्सल का लाइट 900 सेंसर लो लाइट फोटोग्राफी में छा जाता है। प्रीमियम फोन्स के लिए Vivo ने शॉट के वर्ल्ड क्लास कवर ग्लास को अपनाया है जो फ्लेक्सिबल है, स्ट्रॉन्ग है और ड्यूरेबल भी है। Vivo कम्युनिकेशन टेक्नोलॉजी में भी कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ रहा है। 3GPP का मेंबर होने के साथ ही Vivo ने 6000 से ज्यादा पेटेंट्स फाइल किए हैं और 15,000 से ज्यादा इंप्रूवमेंट्स सजेस्ट किए हैं। ओवरऑल Vivo Tech Day 2024 में Vivo ने अपनी इनोवेशन और टेक्नोलॉजी की डेडिकेशन को शोकेस किया।
Now friends, from the event, let's divert our attention to these new smartphones जो Vivo ने just अभी launch किए हैं। This is the all new Vivo V40 and this is the V40 Pro. यहाँ पे दोनों phones के पीछे you will see a badging of Zeiss, which simply means कि these new phones they are well equipped with all the Zeiss features. For example, यहाँ पे we have the option of Zeiss multifocal portrait या फिर जो Zeiss का cinematic bokeh effects हैं वो भी हमको इन फोन से मिलते हैं। दे आर IP रेटेड, बेसिकली वाटर रेजिस्टेंट अंडर वाटर और डस्ट रेजिस्टेंस भी इन फोन में हमको मिल जाती है। क्वाइट स्लीक प्रोफाइल, क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग डिजाइंस। लेट्स सी अप क्लोज कि आखिर Vivo के जो दोनों नए फोन हैं इन द V सीरीज, हाउ एग्जैक्टली दे प्रोवाइड अ कंप्लीट पैकेज टू अस इन फॉर्म ऑफ दीज टू न्यू डिजाइंस।
Vivo has just launched its photography focused V40 series in India with the V40 and the V40 Pro. दोनों phones में एक stunning 6.78 inch 1.5K AMOLED display है with a 120 Hz refresh rate for buttery smooth visuals. Plus, they're both IP68 water and dust resistant, so you can take them on all of your adventures without any worry. The V40 is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 chipset. It comes with up to 12 GB of LPDDR4X RAM and a whopping 512 GB of internal storage, featuring a 50 megapixel Samsung ISOCELL primary sensor with Zeiss optics and OIS, along with a 50 megapixel ultra-wide lens. Selfie lovers will be thrilled with the 50 megapixel front camera capable of 4K video recording as well. The V40 Pro, it boasts the mighty MediaTek Dimensity 9200 Plus processor coupled with the Immortalis G715 GPU for top-notch gaming performance. It boasts a triple rear camera setup including a 50 megapixel Sony IMX921 primary sensor with OIS and Zeiss optics, a 50 megapixel ultra-wide lens and a 50 megapixel Sony IMX816 2x telephoto lens for those perfect zoomed in shots. Selfie game strong rahega with the 50 megapixel front shooter, as both phones pack a massive 5500 mAh battery with 80 watts of fast charging supported. और सॉफ्टवेयर की बात करें तो दोनों फोन्स Android 14 based Fun Touch OS पे रन करते हैं. The Vivo V40 starts at 34,999 for the 8GB and 128GB model, and it goes up to 41,999 for the 12GB 512GB model, while the V40 Pro starts at 49,999 for the 8GB 256GB variant, 55,999 for the 12GB 512GB model. So if you're a photography enthusiast looking for a powerful and stylish smartphone, the Vivo V40 series is definitely worth considering.
Friends, you heard it right. Basically, in this V40 Pro, the storage goes all the way up to 512 GB. हमने देखा है काफी सारे मोबाइल फोन्स जो हैं in the market, they provide storage till 1 TB. अब जब हम बात करते हैं इस KB, MB, GB, TB की, you know what exactly is a zettabyte? मतलब किलोबाइट, मेगाबाइट, गीगाबाइट हम सबने देखा है, बट व्हाट इज अ zettabyte? वेल, लेट मी टेल यू इन डिटेल. अब देखिए, जीबी तक तो ठीक है, इट्स प्रीटी इजी. अगर हम बात करते हैं 1024 जीबी की, इट बिकम्स 1 टेराबाइट. हो सकता है मे बी योर कंप्यूटर और लैपटॉप हैज अ स्टोरेज अप टू 1 टेराबाइट और मे बी इवन मोर देन दैट, बट थोड़ा सा और आगे बढ़ते हैं. सो व्हेन यू हैव 1024 terabytes, it becomes 1 petabyte. Just imagine the size of 1 petabyte. And when you have 1024 petabytes, it becomes 1 exabyte. And when you have 1024 exabytes, it becomes 1 zettabyte. And guys, as per the predictions, by the starting of 2025, we will have eventually a total data of 175 zettabytes globally. जी हाँ, it includes all your emails, all your selfies, all your photos, your videos, your memories, all the internet data, everything combined would be equivalent to 175 zettabytes. Just put in your imagination और सोचो, if you were to store all that data under one roof, तो कितने सारे हार्ड ड्राइव्स आपको यूज करने पड़ेंगे. वेल, दिस इज हाउ बिग द वर्ल्ड ऑफ डेटा इज. डिड यू नो दिस? If yes, then amazing. But if no, then please let me know by writing in all your emails. एड्रेस बड़ा ही आसान है, it's tg@ndtv.com. एंड जब आप ईमेल लिखेंगे, it will be a few kilobytes. बट आप इमेजिन करो, जब बहुत सारे व्यूअर्स ईमेल लिखेंगे, तो यहाँ पे भी वी आर कंट्रीब्यूटिंग टुवर्ड्स दैट 175 zettabytes of data. So friends, for the next one, I have something very special. And I like the way the episode is flowing today because हम बात कर रहे थे about the technology of Vivo, then हमने देखा V40 स्मार्टफोन, उसमें है मॉडल अप टू 512 GB, हमने बात की about zettabytes, and in fact this phone also achieves something very unique. क्योंकि what I have with me is the latest OnePlus Open Apex Edition. जी हाँ, this phone is a successor, or I would say a new version of the already existing OnePlus Open with some subtle changes. The first thing is obviously this new crimson shadow color. It gives you this dark red or maroon hints, basically made up of vegan leather. काफी exciting, काफी एक अच्छी feel आपको हाथ में मिलती है. It has the alert slider in a new avatar because यहाँ पे it has a privacy chip inside. जब आप इसको सबसे ऊपर मूव करते हैं, it enters the VIP mode, which essentially blocks the access to camera and the microphone. तो आपके फ़ोन में कोई भी ऐप हो वो कैमरा या आपके माइक्रोफोन को एक्सेस नहीं कर सकती है, बेसिकली गिविंग यू दिस पीस ऑफ माइंड दैट येस योर फोन इज प्रोटेक्टेड नाउ. एंड यहाँ पे दिस फोन नाउ ऑफर्स, hear me right, it is 1 terabyte of storage in this OnePlus Open. So the package comes with 16 GB of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage in this new OnePlus Open Apex Edition. एक बार थोड़ा सा इसको आप देख लो अच्छे से and get to know some more details about this foldable straight from OnePlus.
OnePlus ने अपने पहले फोल्डेबल फोन OnePlus Open का एक नया रूप पेश किया है, the OnePlus Open Apex Edition. This special edition phone is turning heads with its striking crimson red vegan leather back finish, जिससे इसका लुक और भी प्रीमियम हो गया है. But that's not all. इस फोन में एक नया privacy chip है जो अलर्ट स्लाइडर के साथ एम्बेडेड है. मतलब जब आप साइलेंट मोड पे स्विच करेंगे तो ये चिप ऑटोमेटिकली सारे एप्स के एक्सेस आपके फोन के कैमरा और माइक्रोफोन से ब्लॉक कर देगा. और जिनको पावर और स्पेस चाहिए उनके लिए भी OnePlus Open Apex Edition में कोई कमी नहीं है. It comes with a massive 16 GB of RAM and a whopping 1 terabyte of storage, जिससे आपके apps, फोटोज, वीडियोस और सब कुछ के लिए जगह की कोई कमी नहीं होगी. The OnePlus Open Apex Edition is a testament to OnePlus's commitment to innovation, style and privacy.
फ्रेंड्स, आई होप कि आपको अभी तक एपिसोड में बहुत मजा आ रहा है. एंड मजा आपके लिए और बाकी है, जहां पे आई एम गोना गिव यू वेरी नाइस टेक टिप जो आपके पैसे जरूर बचाएगी और साथ में कुछ सवालों के जवाब भी आपको मिलने वाले हैं. एवरीथिंग राइट आफ्टर दिस शॉर्ट ब्रेक.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy.
Hello guys, welcome back after the break to your favorite show Gadget 360 with Technical Guruji, जहाँ पे मैं गौरव आपसे हमेशा गैजेट्स की बातें करता रहता हूँ एंड बेसिकली गैजेट्स से हम एक डिजिटल लाइफ में तो मूव कर ही चुके हैं ना. टुडे एवरीथिंग व्हाट वी हैव इज डिजिटल. सो बेसिकली आवर मनी मैनेजमेंट शुड आल्सो बी डिजिटल. मतलब कब तक अपने वॉलेट में वो आप पर्चियों पे हिसाब लिख लिख के स्टोर करते रहोगे या कब तक अपने घर में आप डायरीज में लिखना जो है वो कंटिन्यू करते रहोगे, बिकॉज टुडे एवरीथिंग इज डिजिटल. जहाँ पे हम जो खर्चा करते हैं वो भी डिजिटल होता है एंड इट वुड बी रियली हेल्पफुल फॉर अस टू मैनेज ऑल आवर मनी डिजिटली. सो लेट मी गिव यू बेसिक टिप्स जिनको अगर आप यूज करते हैं तो आप काफी अच्छे से यू विल बी एबल टू टेक केयर ऑफ ऑल योर एक्सपेंसेस, ऑल योर बजटिंग वेरी इजीली. So the first one here is split wise. मतलब ऐसा बहुत बार होता है कि you are on a trip with your friends, अब कहीं पे कोई पे कर रहा है, sometimes some expenses are done by someone else. तो यहाँ पे split wise basically enables you to split all your expenses very easily using the power of digital and your smartphones. काफी अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म है, काफी अच्छी एप्लीकेशन है, you should all give it a try. Second is money manager, जहाँ पे you can just put in all your expenses and ये आपको अलग अलग ग्राफिकल फॉर्मेट्स में आपका आउटपुट दिखा सकता है कि मे बी आप बाहर खाने पे ज्यादा खर्चा कर रहे हैं या फिर यू आर स्पेंडिंग टू मच ऑन क्लोथिंग. तो यहाँ पे ऑल दीज एप्स एंड प्लस देयर आर थाउजेंड्स मोर ऑन द प्ले स्टोर और ऐप स्टोर. ये जो एप्स हैं ये आपका पैसा या एक्सपेंस मैनेज करने में आपकी मदद कर सकती हैं एंड यू शुड ऑल गिव देम अ ट्राई जस्ट टू नो एंड मैनेज योर फाइनेंसेस एंड एक्सपेंसेस बेटर. So friends, here we are once again. मेरा पर्सनल फेवरेट सेक्शन है ये जहां पे मैं जो आपने सवाल पूछे थे उनका जवाब देता हूं एंड लेट्स सी द काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस वी हैव फॉर दिस वीक्स एपिसोड. See, definitely the A7S Mark 1 is pretty old by now, and अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं the A7C Mark II, it's actually quite capable. मतलब आप जो है अगर if you're trying to find this sweet spot between videography and photography, so this could be the camera. अगर आप केवल वीडियोस की बात करते तो I would have suggested you the FX lineup, लेकिन क्योंकि you are also talking about photography, the A7C Mark II, because it has a 33 megapixels sensor, तो फोटोज के लिए भी आपको sufficient एक अच्छा आउटपुट मिलेगा, and videos of course. So this would be a nice upgrade for you to jump from the A7S Mark I to A7C Mark II now.
मार्केट में सबसे अच्छे ईयरबड्स कौन से ब्रांड के हैं ₹5000 की रेंज में?
See, sound is very subjective and it depends person to person कि the kind of sound you prefer. हो सकता है आपको थोड़ा सा bass चाहिए, हो सकता है you want this authentic sound. But if I would recommend you just one earphone, तो मैं बोलूँगा कि आप Oppo Enco Air series जो है ना, the Air 3 Pro, the Air 4 Pro, आप अगर वो लेंगे in this budget, you will get a great experience overall. So Oppo Enco series of TWS earphones is my recommendation under that budget.
Hey TG, do you think that robot flow cleaners are efficient? Because I've been thinking of buying one for some time now.
Depends on the geography of your house, because India mein we have a different scenario altogether, because in the west if you see most of the houses they are carpeted or they have wooden flooring and the flooring is quite even, so wahan pe jo robot cleaners hain wo काफी अच्छे से काम कर सकते हैं. But in our country, in our houses, sometimes the geography is a bit different. जहाँ पे carpets जो हैं वो proper wall to wall नहीं होते हैं बहुत cases में. Sometimes we have staircases, sometimes we have uneven surfaces. तो आप अपने घर में एक बार देखिए कि the kind of cleaning is required basis of कि आपके घर में कैसा फर्श है या कैसे आप carpets वगैरह यूज़ करते हैं. अगर आपको लगता है कि yes it's mostly flat and ज़्यादा ऐसा आपको uneven surface नहीं मिल रहा है, then a robot vacuum cleaner would be a really helpful one for you. Otherwise, manually साफ करना ज़्यादा better होगा, because robot cleaners, although they are very good and they are getting very advanced, are not really for each household in India. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely safe, and sometimes I charge my MacBook, for example, with the Apple's 30-watt adapter or 25-watt adapter, 20-watt adapter, and it works all fine. It's just that कि जो charging की speeds हैं वो बहुत slow हो जाती हैं, considering MacBooks, they have huge battery capacity. So ideally, you should be charging with like a fast charger जो आपको box में मिलता है. But even if you don't have it, a lower capacity charger, basically giving you output via Type-C port, should be enough for the MacBook, and especially if it's a MacBook Air, so 30 watt, 35 watts, 20 watts is like good enough for the laptop, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so guys, there you have it. That's everything from my side in this week's episode of Gadgets 360 with Technique Guruji. Starting from all the gadgets to all the tech tips to all the questions, मैंने सब कुछ cover कर दिया है. Now it's your turn to do the thing. Basically, write emails to tg@ndtv.com if you have any questions, any feedback, any appreciation, any suggestions. I'm here to look at my inbox on a daily basis. तो आप अपने सभी emails कर सकते हैं और इंतजार कर सकते हैं for next week's episode, because I've got something exciting next week as well. बहुत मजा आने वाला है. See you all next week. That's it for now. Have a good day and take care.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Kerala's Kannur, where he was received by the Kerala Chief Minister as well as the Kerala Governor. Prime Minister Modi will be visiting the landslides hit Wayanad. He will also visit the hospitals and the relief camps there, after which he will also do an aerial survey of landslides hit areas. Government says there is no concept of a creamy layer in SC/ST quota. Disagrees with Supreme Court's assertion. An ACB raid on Telangana civic body officer. Around 3 crore in cash and gold worth lakhs has been seized. Telangana municipal officer Narendra has been arrested in assets case. A few members of the Indian men's hockey team returned back to India. They were received with a warm welcome at the Delhi airport. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Osama Shah. Our top story that we are tracking at this hour, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he has landed in Kannur and now he will take an aerial survey of the landslides hit affected areas in Wayanad. Now, central government has listed rescue and relief efforts in Wayanad after the landslides hit. Meanwhile, the opposition, it has been demanding that the Wayanad calamity be declared a national disaster. However, there is no provision for the centre to make such a declaration. The decision seems to be with the state government. The leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, he posted on social media platform X saying that Prime Minister's decision to visit is a good one, and that post his visit, Rahul is confident that the Prime Minister will declare it a national disaster. So the Prime Minister has arrived in Kerala's Kannur, where he was received by the Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan as well as the Kerala Governor. The Prime Minister will be visiting the landslide hit Wayanad today. He will take an aerial survey of and take a stock of the situation in Wayanad. Remember, Wayanad has been hit by massive landslides last week. The Prime Minister is there. He will be visiting the hospitals as well as the relief camps. He will also be interacting with the rescuers who have been involved in all the rescue operations since that tragedy struck Wayanad. Prime Minister Modi, he will also be meeting taking a stock of the entire situation there, and this visit, it comes amid the opposition's demand that the Wayanad calamity be declared a national disaster. Now, from what we understand, there is no provision for the centre to make such a declaration. The decision, it seems to be with the state government, and this is what the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, has in fact reiterated as well. So the Prime Minister there in Kannur in Kerala, where he will take an aerial survey of the landslides affected areas in Wayanad. The central government has in fact listed rescue and relief efforts in Wayanad after the landslides hit. And Pratibha joins us on the phone line to get us more details. Pratibha, the Prime Minister is going to take a toll of the entire situation. Now, this comes amid a call by the opposition for declaring this tragedy as a national disaster.
That's right. In fact, it assumes significance for several other reasons as well, because we are talking of more than a week that has passed as far as the landslides are concerned at the Wayanad region. In fact, Prime Minister Modi had assigned two union ministers. One was Mr. George Kurian and the second was Mr. Suresh Gopi to take stock of the situation there. And while the rescue operation is at its fag end, remember the teams from the centre as well as the state have been working in sync as far as the rescue operation is concerned. The death toll having touched the 400 mark there. And Prime Minister Modi is going to start with an aerial survey before actually heading to the site where the landslide occurred, as well as having a meeting with both the rescue personnel as well as the survivors there to try and see how best the centre can provide its services as far as this disaster is concerned. This also comes at a time when there has been politics playing out on two fronts. One is between the Congress as well as the BJP, and the other between the centre as well as the state. And Prime Minister Modi's visit comes at a time when both these politics have been playing out ever since the landslides occurred at the Wayanad region. However, we'll have to wait to see what kind of services would be provided by the centre, with respect to the opposition also demanding and raising its voice, claiming to have these landslides be declared as a national disaster. All eyes are on Prime Minister Modi's visit there and the call that the centre would take as far as the opposition's demand is concerned.
Right. Pratibha Raman, thank you very much for getting us all the latest from there. In fact, Prime Minister's visit to Wayanad, the landslide hit areas of Wayanad. It brings hope as Kerala pleads for financial aid. And in order to help the displaced people and assist in rehabilitation efforts, NDTV has started the Care for Kerala campaign. Now, actor Shriya Sharan and Sharat Kumar, they joined the NDTV campaign Care for Kerala. Listen in to their messages.
Hi, I'm Shriya Sharan. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate. Let's rebuild Wayanad.
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
All right, a woman trainee doctor was found dead inside a government-run medical college and hospital's seminar hall in Kolkata. Now, the nurses, they are holding a rally and a protest rally over the death of the PG's second-year student. The postgraduate medical student, she reportedly had a late dinner, after which she went to study in the seminar hall on the third floor of her campus. She was seen in an unconscious state the next morning. The 31-year-old victim's mother claimed she was found in a semi-nude state with injury marks on her body and her spectacles were broken, alleging that her daughter was murdered. So a horrific death in Kolkata is being reported. A woman trainee doctor, she was found dead, that too inside a government-run medical college and hospital's seminar hall in Kolkata. The pictures that you can see on your screens are of the nurses who are holding a protest, asking for security for themselves and justice for the deceased. The nurses, they are holding a rally over the death of the second-year student. The postgraduate medical student, she reportedly had a late dinner, after which it is said that she went to study in the seminar hall on the third floor of her college's campus. She was then found in an unconscious state in the next morning. The 31-year-old victim's mother, she has claimed that her daughter was found in a semi-nude state with injury marks on her body and her spectacles were broken, alleging that it is a case of murder. All right, time now for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razer 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. बनेगा स्वस्थ इंडिया, One World Hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some
All right, welcome back. Breaking news coming in at this point. There has been more unrest being reported in Bangladesh. The protests, these are happening outside the Bangladesh Supreme Court. The students there, they have surrounded the Bangladesh Supreme Courts. Now, the full court meeting has been called by the Chief Justice. It has been called off. The Chief Justice has called the meeting without consulting new interim government is what is being said. Student protesters, they say that the judges of the court are part of a larger conspiracy. In fact, my colleague Vishnu Shom joins us to get us more on this. Vishnu, what more can you tell us, and what can you tell us about these latest developments that are happening in Bangladesh right now?
Well, quite clearly, the crisis in Bangladesh, Osama, is far from being over. Within the last 1.5 hours, and no more than that, we've seen a large number of student protesters, along with members of opposition parties in Bangladesh, surround the Supreme Court of Bangladesh and demand that the Chief Justice resign within an hour. This is after news started spreading of the Chief Justice organizing a Zoom virtual conference among all judges of the court system. I don't know if it's just judges of the Supreme Court or it included judges of other courts as well. The protesters who surrounded the Supreme Court of Bangladesh have said that this was being done without the permission of the interim government and was part of a conspiracy. They have now made their position very clear that the Chief Justice of the Bangladesh Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of Bangladesh, must step down within a period of 1 hour. Now, this was a call made about half an hour back, so there's frankly not very much time left, assuming, of course, that he chooses to step down. There are some other reports that we've been picking up which say that the Chief Justice of the Bangladesh High Court has now fled that Supreme Court. Remember, in the last couple of days, a lot of opposition leaders, a lot of those who were loyal to the previous government of Sheikh Hasina have been picked up and have been detained. So there is a sense that there is a question mark now on whether judges of the Supreme Court and of other courts who are seen to be pro-Sheikh Hasina or her government, whether they would in fact be picked up and detained or some sort of action would be taken against them. That's the present situation in Bangladesh right now. But I think, Osama, the key point is that it's important to remember that the original crisis, as it were, in Bangladesh started when there were reservations, 30% reservations for the family members of those who had fought in the Liberation War, which was something which the Supreme Court of Bangladesh had in fact cleared. It was this decision to clear that very controversial quota that has triggered all of these protests among students in the first place, who said that, look, there are no jobs available. How can you have this sort of quota? though the Supreme Court did roll back that particular order, that particular verdict, it really triggered this entire crisis. Therefore, the Chief Justice, members of the Supreme Court are very much, for want of a better phrase, persona non grata in the eyes of the opposition leaders and
Vishnu,
of the students.
I'll have
So
to
that's a
interrupt you
developing
at this
story
point
happening
because
now.
we are cutting live to Prime Minister Modi, who has arrived there. He is, as you can see on your screens, Prime Minister Modi is in Kerala. He is going to be meeting the survivors of the landslide hit Wayanad. In fact, he is also going to take a toll of the entire situation there as of now. And this is coming, Prime Minister's visit comes amid calls by the opposition to declare this tragedy as a national disaster. The Prime Minister, he was received in Kannur first by the Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan along with the Kerala Governor, and he has now arrived in Wayanad. As you can see on your screens, Prime Minister Modi has just got down from the aircraft. He is now sitting in his car at the moment. Prime Minister Modi, he will be visiting, taking an aerial survey, conducting an aerial survey at the same time. He'll also be, in fact, visiting the Bailey Bridge that were constructed by the army in record time. He will also be visiting the relief camps that have been set up. Remember, a total of 30 people were rescued and 520 were evacuated in this tragedy. Now, the big question that everyone's asking is that will Wayanad tragedy be declared a national disaster, especially with the Prime Minister visiting the landslides hit Wayanad. So the Prime Minister is there in Kerala. He is going to be taking a toll of the entire situation. Remember, the Kerala was hit, especially Wayanad district was hit by massive landslides, resulting in widespread damage. Prime Minister Modi, he arrived in Kerala today in the morning at Kannur, where he was received by the Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan, as well as the Kerala Governor. And he will now, in just a short while from now, will be doing an aerial survey of the landslides hit Wayanad district. Prime Minister Modi, he will also be reviewing the relief and rehabilitation efforts. He will also be interacting with the survivors. There, the Prime Minister, he in fact reached Kannur at around 11 a.m. on Saturday and is scheduled to take an aerial survey of the landslides affected area in Wayanad. Now, Prime Minister Modi, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, Governor Arif Mohammed Khan, they left soon after Prime Minister arrived in Kannur. They left for Wayanad in what you can see on your screen is the Indian Air Force's Mi-17 helicopter for an aerial survey of the landslide region. The Union Minister of State for Petroleum and Tourism, Suresh Gopi, is also there accompanying the Prime Minister as well as the Chief Minister of Kerala. Now, teams that have been involved in all these rescue operations, they will be briefing the Prime Minister of the current situation about the evacuation efforts that have been undertaken. In fact, the Prime Minister, like I mentioned, he will also be visiting the relief camps and hospitals where he will be meeting and interacting with the victims and survivors of the landslides. Remember, Prime Minister Modi, he will also be chairing a review meeting where he will be briefed about the tragedy and the ongoing relief efforts in detail. This visit, in fact, is quite crucial for Kerala and is crucial in the sense for rehabilitating the landslide devastated people. Remember, the ruling front and the opposition both had requested the NDA government to declare the July 30th earthfall, the landslide that basically flattened areas like Churamal, Churalmal, Mundakai and Attamala localities and to term it as a national disaster. So the Prime Minister there has arrived in Wayanad and the teams there that have been involved in rescue operation, they will be briefing him about all the evacuation efforts that has been going on. The Prime Minister will then visit the relief camp and the hospitals where where he will be meeting and interacting with the victims and survivors of the landslide. So the Prime Minister's chopper has landed in Wayanad. He will be surveying the damage that has been caused by the landslides in Wayanad. A total of 30 had been rescued in these tragedies. Now the big question is, can Wayanad tragedy be declared as a national disaster? In fact, Prime Minister, he will be also visiting the Bailey Bridge that was constructed by the army in record time. And in fact, in order to bring help the people of Kerala who have been affected by the devastating landslides in Wayanad, NDTV is running a campaign named Care for Kerala. The details of that you can see on your screens. There have been calls from different quarters, from celebrities to the general public, for getting the help, the required help to the people of Wayanad who have been affected by this horrific tragedy, disaster that has taken so many lives. And Prime Minister Modi, he is now in Wayanad. He will be surveying the landslide hit areas, especially the areas of Churalmal, Mundakai and Attamala localities, which have been severely hit by the landslide. Prime Minister Modi's visit is crucial, especially for rehabilitating the landslide devastated people. In fact, the ruling front, as well as the opposition, has requested the central government to make sure that they declare this tragedy as a national disaster. So as you can see on your screens, the Prime Minister has disembarked from the IAF helicopter along with the Kerala Governor, Arif Muhammad Khan, as well as the Chief Minister, Pinarayi Vijayan. He is also being accompanied by the Union Minister of State for Petroleum, Suresh Gopi there. This team was welcomed by the Revenue Minister, K. Rajan. There was also Tribal Minister O.R. Kelu and state leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party there. In fact, hundreds of onlookers, family members, including families that have been accommodated in relief camps, they could be seen thronging the perimeter of the school grounds where the Prime Minister has landed. It is the SKMJ school grounds where the Prime Minister's helicopter has landed. And Prime Minister Modi, he will be taking a toll of the entire situation. He is going to undertake aerial survey of the landslide hit areas. And remember, just a short while ago, he had arrived in Kannur first, and he was received by the Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan, as well as Arif Muhammad Khan, the Kerala Governor. And he will be reviewing the relief and rehabilitation efforts, and in fact will also interact with the survivors of this horrific tragedy. In fact, just a couple of days ago, the Kerala government, it had formed a task force as well to expedite the insurance claims for the victims. So everyone's trying to make sure that people who have been affected by this horrific tragedy, they get the required help from both the central government as well as the state government. In fact, the task force was set up to collaborate with different insurance companies, agents, the authorities of those villages, in fact, also the revenue department, in order to identify who the claimants are and redeem their indemnity there. The Kerala government, the task force, in fact, collaborated, like I mentioned, with the insurance companies to make sure that the claimants are properly identified. But as of now, what you can see on your screens is Prime Minister Modi has arrived in Wayanad. He has his chopper, the IAF helicopter. It has landed in Wayanad in a school where also some of the the relief camp members who have been accommodated in these relief camps, some of the onlookers, they were seen waiting for the Prime Minister and thronging the perimeter of that particular school where the Prime Minister's helicopter has landed. Prime Minister Modi, remember, he has disembarked from the IAF helicopter. He is being accompanied by the Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan and Kerala Governor Arif Muhammad Khan, along with the Union Minister of State for Petroleum Suresh Gopi. Remember, the Prime Minister, he reached Kannur at around 11 a.m. today, and he's now present in Wayanad right now. And on the left of your screens, you can see those shots of Prime Minister arriving in Wayanad, and on the right, you can see all the rescue operations that took place after the tragedy hit Wayanad. All the authorities had been involved in these rescue measures. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, the teams that are involved in the rescue operation, they will be briefing him about all the evacuation efforts that have taken place and all the rehabilitation efforts that the authorities have undertaken. The Prime Minister then will visit the relief camp and the hospital, where he will meet the victims as well as the survivors of this landslide. And Pratibha joins us on the phone line. Pratibha, the Prime Minister has arrived in Wayanad. What more details can you give us right now?
Well, he has arrived at Wayanad. He will be embarking on an aerial survey before he makes a personal visit to the site where the landslide occurred. And soon after which he would be heading to the relief camp as well to meet with the survivors. Now, this definitely assumes significance, mainly because we are talking about a region that was affected. It's been over a week since the landslides occurred there, and it has been one of the most devastating ones that Wayanad has seen, mainly because the death toll has definitely crossed the 400 mark. The rescue personnel, both from the center as well as the state, have been working in sync to ensure that the rescue operation is done in the most efficient manner. His Prime Minister Modi had initially assigned 2 union ministers. One was Mr. George Kurian and the second was Mr. Suresh Gopi to take stock of the situation. And now Prime Minister Modi has himself decided to get to the place where the landslides occurred and take stock of the situation. This visit also comes at a time when politics has been playing out between the center as well as the state. 2 kinds of politics, one the center as well as the state, and the other the Congress as well as the BJP. And his visit also comes at a time when the opposition leaders have been demanding that this be declared a national disaster. All eyes are on the steps that would be taken by Prime Minister Modi as far as the landslides in this region is concerned, how we could avert such a disaster. These are some of the steps that definitely need a relook, a rethink. And Prime Minister Modi's visit comes at a time when all these things are being discussed, where there is a raging debate on whether this is a man-made disaster or whether this is a natural phenomenon. Back to you.
All right, Pratibha Raman, thank you very much for getting us all the latest from the ground. And as you can see on your screens, Prime Minister Modi, he has arrived in Wayanad. He will be visiting the relief camps to meet the victims as well as the survivors of the survivors and take a toll of the entire situation. that is happening, that has unfolded in Wayanad in the last couple of days. And Pratibha is still there with us. Pratibha, how crucial is this visit, especially in the context that both people from the state government as well as the opposition, they have been demanding that this tragedy it be termed as a natural disaster. How helpful it would be if it is declared as a natural disaster for the people of Wayanad who have been hit by the landslides?
Well, this is talking about the landslides that occurred there and the kind of mammoth disaster that this has caused. We are talking of several who have been stranded there, hundreds and hundreds of families stranded, hundreds and hundreds of houses that have been washed away, several villages as well as towns that are still under the debris there. And this kind of calamity is something that Wayanad has definitely not seen. Of course, the region has been prone to these kind of landslides. Is something that the region as well as the people have been talking about, mainly because of the loose soil there in those hilly regions, also because of the plantation, the eco-sensitive regions belonging to the Western Ghats. These are some of the things that have only been discussed but have never been brought to light in terms of concrete action that could be taken. And that is precisely why Prime Minister Modi's visit there assumes significance. Whether there could be some concrete steps that would be taken in terms of averting this kind of a disaster, also coming at a time when the opposition leaders have been demanding the fact that this be declared a national disaster. Many of these discussions have formed a raging debate between the opposition leaders as well as the ruling government of India, and also at a time when the centre as well as the state have also been indulging in a debate of sorts as far as the alerts that have been issued are concerned. So Prime Minister Modi there, who would be discussing all of this, not just with the rescue personnel, he would also be taking stock of the situation by talking to the survivors there and getting a first-hand update on the kind of demands that will be put up by the survivors there, and perhaps there will be concrete steps that will be taken by the centre as far as these landslides are concerned.
Absolutely, and in fact the death toll from the Wayanad landslides, it has in fact crossed over 400 as of Wednesday. And with more than 150 still missing. The rescue operations are still ongoing, with the teams now focused on forested regions there. The Kerala government has also in fact enlisted the help of the families of the missing and the local residents in the search efforts. In fact, the Agriculture Department has reported that 310 hectares of farmland, it has been devastated in the landslide hit areas. Pratibha, just to give us a sense of what exactly is the situation right now, especially in areas such as Chudal, Mala, Attamala and Mundakai regions.
As far as the Chudal Mala is concerned, yes, it is the region where the bridge had initially collapsed, leading to a lot of chaos as far as the rescue personnel not having accessibility in terms of reaching the far-flung areas. But of course, in record...
All right, we'll try and get Pratibha back on the phone line there. So Prime Minister Modi is there in Wayanad. He is in fact, he has arrived at the relief camp as well, and he will also be taking a toll of the entire situation there. He'll be meeting the victims and the survivors of this horrific tragedy that has struck Wayanad just a couple of days ago. All right, time for a very short break. More news on the other side.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Welcome back. A few members of the Indian men's hockey team, they returned after their big win at Paris. The players, they received a grand welcome at the airport. The Indian men's hockey team, in fact, remember, defeated Spain 2-1 to clinch the bronze medal at the Paris Olympics 2024 on Thursday. Now, the remaining team members, they are expected to return after the closing ceremony. PR Srijesh, he will be the flag bearer for India's closing ceremony. They will be heading to their, in fact, the team, after they arrived at the airport, they left for their hotel, after which they then went to Dhyanchand's Stadium, where they interacted. There was a meet and greet arranged for the team, as in they interacted with the media thereafter. The Indian hockey men's team, after their incredible victory at Paris, they have returned back to India. A few members of of that team, it has returned after their big victory. The players, in fact, they received a grand welcome at the airport. Remember, the Indian team, it beat Spain 2-1 to clinch the bronze medal at the Paris Olympics 2024. All right, as you can see on your screens now, Prime Minister Modi is taking an aerial survey of the landslides hit Wayanad district. Prime Minister Modi, he landed in Kerala at Kannur at 11 a.m. Today, where he was received by the Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, who you can see on your screens is accompanying Prime Minister Modi and giving him the updates of the situation. The Prime Minister is in fact taking an aerial survey of the Wayanad, of the landslides hit Wayanad districts. Prime Minister's chopper, it landed in Wayanad just a short while ago, and now the Prime Minister is taking an aerial survey of the landslides hit Wayanad. In fact, Prime Minister there, he was received by Pinarayi Vijayan and the Governor of Kerala, Arif Muhammad Khan, and he then left for Wayanad after reaching Kannur in the Indian Air Force's helicopter for an aerial survey of the landslide region. He was also accompanied by the Union Minister of State for Petroleum and Tourism, Suresh Gopi. Remember the team there, like you see on your screens, the team involved in the rescue operation. They're briefing him about the evacuation efforts, the rehabilitation efforts that have been undertaken. The Prime Minister, he will also be visiting the relief camp and the hospital, where he will meet and interact with the victims and survivors of the landslides. Prime Minister is also expected to chair a review meeting during which he will be briefed in detail about this incident and the ongoing relief efforts. Now, this visit, it comes amid calls from the opposition to term it as a national disaster, and Prime Minister's visit to Wayanad will certainly be on in those lines as well. There have been calls for terming it as a national disaster, declaring it as a national disaster, and Prime Minister now is taking the aerial survey. He's making the aerial survey right now. He's also, as you can see on your screens, looking at all the pictures and information that has been provided by the team there that has been involved in the rescue operation and relief evacuation efforts. They are briefing him and giving him all the details that he needs regarding the horrific tragedy that has struck Wayanad just a couple of days ago. Over 400 people have died in this tragedy. It is one of the worst tragedies that has hit Wayanad. The Prime Minister there on your screen surveying the landslide and flood affected areas in Wayanad. In fact, Prime Minister Modi has, after the aerial survey, he will be leaving for Chudalmala, where other leaders who did in Mr. Modi and other leaders who are doing the aerial survey, they will then review the relief and rehabilitation efforts in the landslide hit Chudalmala area, which has been one of the worst affected areas as far as the landslide is concerned. However, the police they are making sure of all the security measures that need to be taken, that need to be undertaken. The police has in fact barricaded, the barricades have been put up in small junctions and towns on the way. The traffic is also being restricted on the Kolkata Chudalmala route. The Prime Minister there on your screens, as you can see, is taking an aerial survey of the flood, of the landslide and flood affected areas in Wayanad. And Pratibha joins us on the phone line to get us more on this. Pratibha, the Prime Minister is doing the aerial survey at the moment. What is lined up next? What will he be doing after the aerial survey is done?
Well, soon after the aerial survey, after about an hour, is when he will be visiting the landslide site personally. He will be talking to the rescue personnel, taking stock of the situation, and soon after he will be heading to the relief camp as well to talk to the survivors. Now, Prime Minister Modi's visit comes at a time when there is politics as well as raging debate that are being played out between the centre as well as the state. One, in terms of whether this is a man-made disaster or whether this is a natural phenomenon. The other about the alerts, as well as the opposition leaders making a call or a demand in terms of declaring this as a national disaster. Now, Prime Minister Modi would be talking to the survivors as well as the rescue personnel, taking stock of the situation, and perhaps there could be some kind of a concrete step that could be taken by the centre in terms of averting these kind of landslides, especially in a region like Wayanad that is prone to these kind of disasters. And number two is also the centre as well as the state working in sync as far as the rescue personnel are concerned in terms of the rescue operation there that was undertaken and the commendable operation that was actually done. But we are also talking of a disaster where the death toll has crossed the 400 mark. And this is definitely not something that Wayanad wants to see once again. And that is precisely why the significance of Prime Minister Modi's visit there is definitely something that needs to be closely watched.
Absolutely. And in fact, to help the displaced people and assist in rehabilitation efforts, NDTV has in fact started a campaign called Care for Kerala. Remember, over 400 people have been killed in landslides after heavy rains in Kerala's Wayanad since last Tuesday, and many people are still missing, while hundreds have either lost their houses or have been evacuated. And like I mentioned, to help the displaced people and to assist these people in rehabilitation efforts, NDTV has started the Care for Kerala campaign, and the details of which you can see on the right of your screen. Prime Minister Modi, in the meanwhile, he undertook an aerial survey of this area where he's taking a toll of the situation, trying to understand the severity of the disaster that has hit Wayanad. He will also be visiting hospitals as well as the relief camps. He will be meeting the victims as well as the survivors of the landslide there. And Pratibha is still there with us. Pratibha, it is important. This visit is quite crucial, especially when you talk about the fact that there have been calls from all quarters to term it as a national disaster. You have been covering this from on the ground. What can you tell us about how this can be termed as a national disaster, and what all will be needed to make sure that the Prime Minister and the government understand the severity of this situation right now?
Well, the severity or the gravity of the situation is extremely serious as far as the Wayanad landslides is concerned. Having covered this from on ground, this has been extremely disturbing as well as dismal as far as the disaster is concerned, because we are talking of a death toll that has crossed the 400 mark. We're talking of several villages that have been washed away, several of those families who are still stranded. Remember, hundreds and thousands of them who are in those relief camps, still waiting for missing bodies, still in the hope that there could be more survivors in this tragedy. And the hope is still alive as far as some of the stranded families are concerned, mainly talking about how they could be living in those far-flung areas or in those forests there. This also comes at a time when we are talking of several of those forest regions as well as the Western Ghats, where it needs to be considered as an ecologically sensitive region. These are some of the things, horror tales that were narrated by several of those families there. And it definitely becomes extremely significant as far as the call for terming it a national disaster is concerned. All eyes are on the steps that would be taken by the centre soon after Prime Minister Modi's visit there, especially after hearing those tales himself personally by talking to the survivors as well as the rescue personnel in terms of the kind of challenges that were already faced by them. Keeping all of this in mind, whether there could be any kind of solution that could be sought by the centre as well as Prime Minister Modi there, taking stock of the situation and perhaps looking at some definitive steps in terms of averting this. These are some of the things that need to be closely watched, and that is precisely why Prime Minister Modi's visit at this time becomes extremely crucial.
All right, Pratibha Raman, thank you very much for getting us all the latest from the ground. So the latest is that the Prime Minister has undertaken an aerial survey. He has surveyed the affected areas of the Wayanad landslide and floods. He will also be meeting the victims as well as the survivors of the landslide. All right, time now for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razer 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan.
Prime Minister Modi visits landslide-hit Wayanad, surveys landslide-affected areas. Prime Minister is set to visit the relief camps and hospitals next. More unrest in Bangladesh. Protests outside the Bangladesh Supreme Court. Students surround the Supreme Court. Full court meeting has been called by the Chief Justice. Government says there's no concept of a creamy layer in scheduled caste, scheduled tribe quota. Disagrees with Supreme Court's assertion. Anti-Corruption Bureau raid on Telangana civic body officer. Around 3 crore rupees in cash and gold worth lakhs seized. Telangana municipal officer arrested in the assets case. Some members of the Indian men's hockey team returned to India. They received a warm welcome at the Delhi airport. Now, Prime Minister Modi has conducted an aerial survey of the landslide-affected areas in Wayanad. Remember, the flood-affected areas as well have been surveyed by the Prime Minister. He is in Wayanad at this moment, surveying the landslide-hit areas. The Prime Minister is also going to be visiting hospitals and relief camps. He's going to be meeting with volunteers as well as affected members, family members of victims as well. This, of course, comes at a time when the opposition has been demanding that the calamity in Wayanad be named a national disaster. Rahul Gandhi, leader of opposition as well, said that the Prime Minister's decision to visit Wayanad is a good decision at that, as it may be post that the Prime Minister would name the disaster a national disaster as per Rahul Gandhi. That, of course, is the politics still surrounding the landslides that occurred in Wayanad. Hundreds of people losing their lives, many of them losing their livelihoods and their loved ones as well. The Prime Minister there visiting the landslide affected areas, looking at the damage that the disaster has caused in Wayanad and several areas surrounding that have been affected by severe floods and landslides. Now, remember, the relief camps have been set up as well for those who've lost their livelihoods, their homes as well in the destruction that was caused by the landslides. The Prime Minister will be visiting these relief camps shortly. Now, he has conducted the aerial survey, visuals of which are on your screen. Post that, the Prime Minister is going to be, of course, visiting hospitals as well, where the survivors of the landslide have been admitted. He will be taking stock of the rehabilitation measures that are taking place as well, and ensure that speedy recovery is done for those who have lost their homes, their livelihoods, their families in this disaster. Remember, politics has always surrounded the Wayanad landslide. Earlier as well, there was a blame game that erupted as the disaster took place, that who was the one that was responsible for this disaster. Of course, many fingers pointing towards each other. The political parties blamed each other for not having named these areas specifically in Wayanad as ecologically sensitive areas. Now, as that issue is aside, more politics still brews around it. This time, the opposition claiming that this calamity in Wayanad must be named a national disaster. Now, the centre, of course, saying that they do not have the powers to make such a decision to call this a national disaster. However, it seems that the state government is the one that has the powers to name this a national disaster or make any such decision as per Wayanad is concerned. Rahul Gandhi as well posting about this on social media platform X, saying that it is a good decision that the Prime Minister has decided to visit Wayanad and see for himself what has happened after the destruction of livelihoods of a large landmass as well after the landslides took place. Now, several questions also being raised over if this sort of calamity could have been predicted, as these areas are ecologically sensitive and are prone to such disasters as well. Now, talking about the relief operations that took place in Wayanad, several volunteers had stepped in, had saved lives. There were heart-wrenching humanitarian stories that came out of Wayanad as well. People who have sacrificed their own lives to help others, to help families, their neighbors, their friends, and unknown strangers as well. Now, as NDTV has decided to help the displaced and assist in rehabilitation efforts by launching the Care for Kerala campaign, where you can step in and bring out funds for those who've been affected by it as well. Actors Shriya Saran and Sarath Kumar have joined the NDTV campaign. Listen into their message.
Hi, I'm Shriya Saran. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate. Let's rebuild Wayanad.
landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
Now, Prime Minister Modi will also be visiting the Bailey Bridge that was constructed by the army. Remember, this was at the peak of the rescue operations when the army had constructed a bridge in record time through which they had transported heavy machinery which aided in the relief operations. My colleague Pratibha joins us with more details. Pratibha, take us through what we can expect next. The Prime Minister has surveyed the regions that were affected by the landslides. He is about to visit the hospitals and the relief camps as well.
That's right. In fact, he did arrive at the Kannur Air Base, and from there he embarked on an aerial survey to take a look at the landslide-hit regions of Wayanad. And soon after this, he would be meeting with the rescue personnel as well as the survivors to take stock of the situation. Remember, he is also trying to see what are the challenges that were faced by the rescue operation, to ensure that there could be some kind of concrete steps that can be taken. And on the other hand, also meet with the survivors to try and see the kind of difficulties that were faced, the kind of facilities that were provided to the survivors. Also, keeping all of this in mind, the kind of concrete steps that can be taken by the center. Now, this visit assumes significance mainly because we have been talking about politics between the state and the center on one hand. We've been talking about politics between the Congress and the BJP on the other. We've also been talking about raging debates in terms of whether this is a natural phenomenon or a man-made disaster. Keeping all of this in mind, yes, Prime Minister Modi had initially assigned 2 union ministers, George Kurian as well as Suresh Gopi, to try and see how they could assess the situation and submit a report. But now Prime Minister Modi has decided to personally visit the place as well as take stock of the situation. Now, what remains to be closely watched is the steps that will be taken by the center as far as these landslides are concerned.
Right. Thank you, Pratibha, for joining us and bringing us those details. Shifting focus now, more unrest in Bangladesh has been reported. Protests outside the Bangladesh Supreme Court as students surround the Supreme Court. The full court meeting that was called by the Chief Justice earlier has been called off in account of these protests. The Chief Justice had called a meeting without consulting the new interim government, and the student protesters say that the judges of the court are part of a conspiracy as well. They have now demanded the resignation of the Bangladesh Chief Justice. This is the latest that we're bringing for you at the moment. I'm also being joined by Riaz Ahmed, who is the executive editor of the Tribune. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ahmed. At this point, it seems that the unrest in Bangladesh has intensified with students protesting outside the Supreme Court. Take us through the ground situation.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. Actually, the latest development, as you rightly said, that protesters were agitating outside of the Bangladesh top court, asking for the resignation of the Chief Justice. And just a few, as we are talking, the Chief Justice has decided in principle to actually step down. And he just said that before he does that, he wants to have a consultation with the president, who is the head of the state. So after which may take place anytime soon. But he will have a last talk with the president of the country, and then he will resign.
Right, Mr. Ahmed, in terms of the demands and in terms of the accusations by the students as well, they're saying that there's a conspiracy that the judges are involved in. Take us through exactly what they're claiming.
Okay, so exactly right after the 5th August development, when the immediate past government had resigned and fled the country, ever since the August 5th, 6th and 7th, the courts are not being held, since then these were not in session. And suddenly this morning, the Chief Justice called for an impromptu full bench virtual meet, which the students who were on the forefront of the revolution, they smell rat in this decision, and actually they became suspicious. And there were more than several reasons behind this, because for too long a time they have been seeing this, some of the top justices, they suspect complicit with the previous regime in suppressing different causes of the students and people of this country. So they became very suspicious and they marched towards the court from different direction of the city, and they asked for the resignation.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, for joining us and bringing us those details on the story. Shifting focus now, the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnav, said that there is no concept of a creamy layer in scheduled castes and scheduled tribes reservation while announcing key cabinet decisions. Now, Vaishnav said that an in-depth discussion was held at the cabinet meeting on a recent Supreme Court judgment that made certain suggestions on the reservation for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Now, the top court had said that the states must identify the creamy layer in the SC and ST categories and exclude them from the reservation benefits as well.
माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आरक्षण के विषय पर एक जजमेंट दिया है। इस जजमेंट ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एससी और एसटी के रिजर्वेशन के विषय में कुछ सुझाव दिए। आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की अध्यक्षता में कैबिनेट में इस विषय पर विस्तृत चर्चा हुई है। एनडीए सरकार बाबा साहेब अंबेडकर जी के बनाए संविधान के प्रावधानों के प्रति प्रतिबद्ध है, संकल्पबद्ध है। बाबा साहेब अंबेडकर जी के संविधान के अनुसार एससी और एसटी के रिजर्वेशन में क्रीमी लेयर का कोई प्रावधान नहीं है।
अपने अगर प्रैक्टिकल होकर के अपने आसपास के परिवेश को भी देखें तो निश्चित रूप से जो एससी कैटेगरी के लोग हैं उसमें बहुत सारे ऐसे विभिन्न जातियां हैं जिसको कोटा विद इन कोटा की बात की जा रही है। अच्छा, एक चीज और, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जो रिजर्वेशन लाया गया उसका केंद्र बिंदु क्या था? वो था अनटचेबिलिटी। तो आप देखेंगे कि हमारे भी सोसाइटी में अभी वर्तमान में देखने को मिलेगा कि कुछ जातियां ऐसी हैं जो अनटचेबिलिटी के घेरे से वो बाहर आ चुकी हैं, लेकिन कुछ जातियां ऐसी हैं जो अभी भी, जैसे नाम भी लेने में ये लगता है, भंगी, मुसहर, ये सब समाज के जो लोग हैं वाकई में वो बहुत ज्यादा अभी नीचे हैं और छुआछूत जैसी चीजें हम लोग को देखने को अक्सर मिल जाती है सोसाइटी में। तो मुझे लगता है कि इंस्टेंट इस पे करने से पहले एक वाकई में एक स्टडी होनी चाहिए कि वर्तमान में अनुसूचित जाति के जितनी भी जातियां हैं उनके बीच में किस तरह के कैटेगरी, मतलब कौन सी जाति अपलिफ्टेड है या कौन सी जाति अभी बहुत ज्यादा नीचे है, उनको आगे ले जाने की जरूरत है। तो मुझे लगता है कि इसको देखने की आवश्यकता है जो ऑनरेबल हाई कोर्ट ने इंडिकेट किया है।
TDP has been fighting for this cause for the last 20 years. In fact, during the earlier Chandrababu Naidu ji's government, we have represented in the court also from the government side. We believe after 75 years, there has to be a comprehensive relook at the whole process. And there is a cry from certain sections of the SC/ST community that justice is not being done as per the quota of their population. So we strongly support this move. And in Andhra Pradesh, and BJP has earlier clarified clearly that as far as things of Andhra Pradesh are concerned, it would be a joint decision of all the three parties. So there is clarity on that front. And I probably think since this issue has come up now, it might be a good idea to look at a similar classification in the Muslim community also. Might be a good idea for one to ponder on.
We'll bring you more in these stories. For now, a short break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razer 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone.
A few members of the Indian men's hockey team return after their big win. The players received a grand welcome at the Delhi airport. The Indian men's hockey team defeated Spain, remember, 2-1 to clinch the bronze medal at the Paris Olympics on Thursday. The remaining team members are expected to return after the closing ceremony. My colleague Tanushka brings us more details, but first listen in to what the team captain Harmanpreet had to say.
यही होता है कि आपको सब सपोर्ट मिले, जो आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट हो आपकी पूरी हो, तो आई थिंक वो हमें मिली है और आई रियली वांट टू थैंक। बहुत खुश हैं और बहुत प्राउड हैं क्योंकि हॉकी के लिए बहुत बड़ी बात है और जितना प्यार अब मिल रहा है हॉकी को और ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हमारी डबल करता है और हम भी कोशिश करेंगे कि जब भी मैदान में जाएं और देश के लिए मेडल लेके आएं।
As you can see behind me, the Indian hockey team, the players have just arrived at the Dhyan Chand Stadium. The bus is packed with the Indian hockey team players. They have received the bronze medal for the country. These are the winners who are coming out of the bus right now. The Indian hockey team is out right now. As you can see, one by one, they're coming out to the Dhyan Chand Stadium. This is indeed a big victory, not just for India, but also for the sport of hockey. From rural Punjab to the Olympics, 8 boys earn hockey bronze. The journeys of these champions from village fields to the Olympics, as you can see, he's come out with this baby here with this bronze medal. These are visuals that NDTV is getting you from the Dhyan Chand Stadium. The bronze shining around their necks, as you can see right now. These are the hockey champions of the country. Indian men's hockey team beats Spain by 2-1 in Paris 2024 Olympics on Thursday to clinch a bronze medal at the Summer Games. This marked India men's hockey team's second consecutive Olympic medal, an achievement last accomplished 52 years ago. Overall, the men in blue bagged a record-extending 13th Olympic medal, the most by any team. All the team players with the hands around their medals walking into the Dhyan Chand Stadium right now to meet with the sports minister shortly. These are our men in blue who have made the nation proud with their victory and with their perseverance and dedication, not just towards the sport but also towards the country as well. This match was also especially significant as it also served as the farewell game for legendary Indian goalkeeper P.R. Shijesh, who had earlier announced that this game would be his last in the Indian jersey. The players are here being welcomed. Some of them are here with their children as well. As you can see, the environment here is one of course, joy and victory. These are beautiful visuals here of the team coming back from Paris right here. That was the Indian hockey team back with their bronze at the home turf at the Dhyan Chand Stadium. These are the men in blue who have come back and have made the country proud and have paid tribute to the game, the national sport of the country. With camera person Ashok Mahale, this is Tanushka Datta for NDTV.
We'll bring you more on these stories. For now, we take a short break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razer 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
PM Modi visits landslide hit Wayanad, conducts an aerial survey of the landslide affected areas. More unrest in Bangladesh. Protests outside the Bangladesh Supreme Court. Students surround the court. Government says there's no concept of a creamy layer in the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe quota. Disagrees with the Supreme Court's assertion. Anti-Corruption Bureau raid on Telangana civic body officer. Around 3 crore rupees in cash and gold worth lakhs seized.
माता भूमि पुत्रो अहम पृथिव्यः, अर्थात ये भूमि हमारी माता है और हम सब इसके पुत्र हैं। इसी भाव का अनुकरणीय उदाहरण है एक पेड़ माँ के नाम अभियान। यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी की प्रेरणा से उत्तर प्रदेश में वृक्षारोपण जन अभियान ने ले लिया है जन आंदोलन का स्वरूप। विगत 7 वर्षों में समय समय पर संपन्न हुए वृक्षारोपण से हुआ है 168 करोड़ से अधिक पौधरोपण। इससे बढ़ा है उत्तर प्रदेश के वनावरण का दायरा। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ के परिवर्तनकारी नेतृत्व में पर्यावरण संरक्षण को मिली है नई दिशा। एक्सप्रेसवे, हाईवे के किनारे सर्विस लेन के साथ ही हरित पट्टी में लगाए गए हैं छायादार, फलदार, औषधीय एवं पर्यावरणीय महत्व वाले पौधे। आइए स्वच्छ एवं स्वस्थ पर्यावरण के लिए वृक्षारोपण जन अभियान 2024 में प्रतिभाग लेकर अपनी माँ के नाम जरूर लगाएं एक पेड़। हम सब मिलकर करें ये काम, एक पेड़ लगाएं माँ के नाम।
Really happy today to be at TOIFA.
TOIFA or any other award can change the game.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity."
Hello and welcome to our very special broadcast from one of India's top commerce colleges. With me are students of SRCC's Global Business Operations Program, a cutting-edge postgraduate course, as we discuss what has been India's decade of great successions in big businesses. What does it mean for our big businesses? What does it mean for startups? How do we balance tradition and modernity in business? What do young entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs really think about it? And this, of course, after the Adani Group hinted that there's a succession plan in place. In fact, Gautam Adani made a very important point that succession in big businesses has to be organic. It's more than just a drastic move. It's a journey. What do people here really think about it? Let me start from the gentleman here. What do you think about succession or transitions in big businesses? You know, as young entrepreneurs, young businessmen, what do you think about it? What is the ideal way of transitioning from one generation to another?
Thank you for asking that question, Vedant. First of all, I would like to say that while studying in classrooms, we have seen that successions which have taken in quite a quick kind of view has not been successful. So giving a good time phase of 8 to 10 years has shown internationally also that it is successful. So in case, if you talk about succession, so from G1 to going to G2, there should be a bond between tradition and innovation. If it is not, then that succession is not a successful succession. And think should go.
That's a very interesting point, that it's not merely successions from one generation to another. It should usher in a new era of innovation. I think that's an interesting point. Would you like to add to that? How does this transition from one generation to another also bolster innovation within a business house?
I think because when the transition takes place from one generation to another generation, the new generation that takes leadership role comes in with fresh sets of ideas, comes in with a fresh set of views on different challenges which may differ from what earlier generations used to do, which then bolsters innovation and gives greater focus on innovating and tackling problems in a newer and better way.
But is it easy? Is it easy to break away from tradition, especially when you come from an established business family, say? How do you not entirely break away from a tradition? You keep some amount of convention alive, but you also bring in new ideas. You also bring in perhaps more risk-taking capability. Risk-taking, I think, is an interesting aspect to look at here.
Right, so thank you for that question. And I think that when a new leadership takes on, then they bring in new ideas and they have a more risk-taking capacity, because these are young bloods and they get more spirit and they are more energetic and they have new ideas and they bring in innovation. So this helps them to bring in innovation. Plus, they also know what the legacy business carries. So they know the core values. So they don't.
And what are the pitfalls of?
Perhaps. So they don't want to drift away from the core values, but at the same time, they do need to bring in modernity with them, the technology, and innovation, so that the business can grow.
Okay, would you like to add to that?
Yeah. So adding on to what Radhika mentioned, I would say that we being the people, we have an access to a lot of information that is available to us. We understand the data, we understand the giants that are growing up. So I think breaking through the tradition, I would say this modernity should be taken as a next step of going into another generation that brings us with new ideas and traditional values being encoded into us. I think adopting the modernity would give a new arena and a new sort of thought to that business that we are trying to.
It is a logical progression to move to that. Let me also get in some more voices, because something interesting that we were discussing earlier was about risk-taking behavior. Interesting that the lady here talked about how perhaps the young generation has more risk-taking tendencies, but many also point out, like in the case of Adani Group, for example, they spread their tentacles to so many sectors, including energy, real estate, infra. Perhaps many would say that the next generation has to be more sustainable, because sustainability also is a buzzword among young entrepreneurs.
So basically, with sustainability comes innovation. Like if we are working on continuous innovation, because as we know, our legacy businesses have fundamentals built up, and now what the generation 2, as Adani mentioned, they had to do is they had to build on these building blocks, and there comes the role of innovation came into play. So like if they continuously innovate, they will definitely be sustainable. As we have seen, different brands, different companies are actually working on that particular prospect only, that they are continuously innovating, and with that innovation, sustainability comes in hand.
So that's an interesting point there, that perhaps the younger generation would also be more wary in a sense, and especially when you come from a family of business people, from a family of a big businessmen. You have to look at the larger picture. You have to look at what you're giving back to society as well.
So basically it actually shows, like whenever somebody is taking over, like generation 2 is coming in place of generation 1, they are actually well trained. And as you were talking about sustainability also, it's not happened in a single day. They are also trained on the sustainability aspect also, because the company know, or an organization know, that sustainability is a need for an hour. It's actually very important. So the succession, that's why the succession also happens gradually, because the graduation growth in that terms will actually help them to get trained on the sustainability aspect also, and bringing in their innovation ideas. So
that's an interesting idea that you're talking about, that perhaps when you have a new generation taking over, there's more exposure also that comes with it. So because there are new challenges, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's social media, there's so many new challenges in new age businesses.
So as new age businesses, like newer generation is coming, so they have to take calculated risk, taking in mind like AI is coming, more and more of data is there. So people have to like take all of those things in mind and then take the risk of maybe getting into new business or sustaining what already has been there and preserving like the cash cow of the business has. and then taking any move that they might want to.
So that's an interesting point there, and I think the sense I'm getting is that perhaps one has to make sure that those core values are intact as we go forward, as we look at expanding the business and also giving back to society. Because I was discussing this earlier with you guys, that performance with purpose also is something that young entrepreneurs are really looking at.
Actually, all the businesses when we see today, they work on a value-giving purpose. So when a business is providing value to the customers, or let's say anything, like if it's a B2B, it is solving a purpose for the other business or the customer. So with that mindset, if any business approaches the problem, so let's take the example of startups. What startups do? They basically try to understand the customer needs, and based on that, they come up with a solution which is going to solve that particular need. So basically we can understand that it's kind of providing a value to the coming generations. And when we talk about sustainability, we can clearly see that a lot has changed in the atmosphere. And if you're not able to maintain that our environment in a better condition, it's not going to be easy for the coming generation to sustain in the coming years. So that is my take.
So interesting point there, and let me take that to you. We're talking about creating a product that is valuable. So is expansion more important for younger entrepreneurs, or is it creating something valuable? What takes precedence?
I feel that there has to be a balance of both of them. So startups, a lot of those startups right now that are operating in India, they are actually failing. The pain point is that they have not done their consumer research properly. They do not exactly know what does the consumer want. They have not done the market research properly. So it's very important to know what will work with the Indian audience. So for example, the brands that are global conglomerates, whenever they launch their own products to India, they also do a market research, and then they launched customized products which have more chances of being relevant according to the Indian audience. So making relevant product is important. However, expansion I feel is equally important, and it's important to strike a balance between both of them.
Right. And perhaps looking at all these ideas, what is also important is that we understand that with a new generation, or with a generation change in big businesses, what also changes is the people you hire. So in a sense, your team changes as well, along with the leadership change. How do you see that?
So as the other political leaders say, we do not have a plan B, we only have planet A. So along with the expansion, which increases our growth opportunities, we should also work on sustainability goals that our India is going to be carbon free by 2047.
So talking about what I was mentioning earlier, how does a leadership change affect the very ethos of a company? Because you have new people that may come in, the vision for hiring also changes, but perhaps the core values remain the same.
I think this is not a sudden change, as the Adani succession plan mentions that Gautam Adani will retire in 2030s, and that his...
So of course that claim has been, in a sense he says that this has to be an organic process and there is no set date as far as, the succession plan is concerned.
Yes, that the next generation leaders, that is Karan, Jeet and Pranav, they are basically now also they are holding some directorial positions and acting as a managing directors of the various enterprises.
Yes.
So I think they are experiencing the current leadership, and I think in the current times they will mix it with the blend of the new innovation and the blend of new awareness they have of the world. Right. So I think that awareness with the mix of traditional experience will bring some more innovation, and they will definitely bring some value addition to the companies, and basically to work towards the innovation sector.
So interesting there that you also believe that because of the fact that they have worked in managerial positions and directorial positions, that is something that's going to help them or bolster their leadership capability as well. So it has to be an organic process, But I also want to understand from you all. You're all business students. Are you more fascinated by, say, this new startup wave that has gripped the nation, or is it still big businesses, legacy businesses that you think will drive the real change?
See, big businesses and small businesses, they have to work with synergy.
Yes.
They have to work together. So, big businesses provide you with opportunities in a very specific roles, but startups, they enhance your growth
in a short period of time. Let's say after a B school, you enter a startup. 3 to 4 years, you grow. You understand what you want, what you actually need, and what market needs. So collaborating everything. So what you learned in a startup, then you can move on to a big company. For example, let's say Adani's, any company. So that would only further enhance your growth and enhance the organization as well, because you have learned, you have prepared, and now you are
You're ready to take on
yeah,
the
take
baton.
on.
Another aspect that I wanted to discuss in this conversation was, something that I mentioned briefly earlier as well, that bringing in social aspects to your business, which I think is very critical to young businessmen, young entrepreneurs, and let me get in a word from some people here, that you want to go beyond the sort of quintessential corporate social responsibility. You want to look at, as I said, performance with purpose. You want to look at, how you create, a purposeful business vis-a-vis your employees as well as your stakeholders outside the company. So how important is that? How important is creating purposeful businesses?
I believe every action that we take has a purpose lying underneath it. So, be it any business or be it any initiative, plans has to be there. Talking about innovation and sustainability, sustainability is, of course, the current buzzword in the scenario. So, we need to work on it.
आप बताइए इस पर थोड़ा ऐड करते हुए कि किस तरीके से, जैसे कि मैं इनसे भी पूछ रहा था कि सोशल एस्पेक्ट्स का इंक्लूजन बिजनेसेस में हम बहुत देख रहे हैं अभी, द यंगर जनरेशन इज टॉकिंग अबाउट इट अ ग्रेट डील, द यंगर जनरेशन विच टेक्स इनटू अकाउंट मोर पैरामीटर्स देन व्हाट अ कन्वेंशनल देन व्हाट कन्वेंशनली वन वुड थिंक अबाउट.
Yes, this is new with the new generation, which is generation 2. जो generation 1 थी, they focused more on scalability and profitability of their businesses, but generation 2 wants to make a global social impact. They just are not looking for just the profitability or the scalability. They want to rapidly make a change in what is happening in the society around them.
Yes. So that's an interesting point कि एक कहीं ना कहीं एक aggression भी है business में कि आप you want to drive change, whether it is doing something radical within the business, things that the earlier generation might not have thought about कि हमें कुछ radical करना है, हमें कुछ leak से हट के भी करना है और ऐसे sectors में जाना है, ऐसे areas में घुसना है जहाँ पर conventionally नहीं सोच पाते थे.
Right. So these days AI ने बहुत ज़्यादा empower कर दिया है सबको, and AI and technology की वजह से this generation has ventured into new forms of business. As you can see, Amazon and Flipkart, they became tech giants after 2013. 2013 से पहले online shopping का नाम भी नहीं सुना था consumers ने, बहुत rare था. When it came to India, they captured the market in such a way that now if you see Amazon and Flipkart का इतना बड़ा customer base है, major cities में even grocery shopping तक में they have ventured into, where Blinkit has 10 मिनट में delivery वो customers को offer कर रहे हैं. So it's a new segment that they have ventured into.
Yeah, so ये एक interesting point आपने बोला, capturing the market. That's how you make the mark. When whether take the example of the Adani Group, how it has managed to venture into areas like defense, real estate, infra, energy, perhaps areas that many would say were really risk-taking, very risky in that sense. So ये capturing the market का जो एक notion है, how do you make your mark? How do you venture into areas जहाँ पर आपको लगे कि ये तो बहुत cluttered market है, ये area बहुत sector बहुत cluttered है, वहाँ पर भी अपना mark, to make your mark. That is the thinking also in new age entrepreneurs.
So taking on the example that my previous batchmate had given, like Blinkit, we can see that the market, the delivery market, was updated from 2 days to 10 minutes. Blinkit had created, in a clustered market, it had created a new segment of delivering in 10 minutes that is forcing Amazon and Flipkart to update their game. They're investing in companies like in competitions which are delivering groceries in this market. So this is also changing the consumer behavior of people which are expecting the delivery to arrive faster. So this is becoming a new norm. So custom.
You wanted to make a point?
So as you were mentioning that Adani is exploring, so I was a sailor before joining this.
Okay.
So
in fact, let me tell you, a lot of you have work experience. 20% of the batch that we have, of the lot that we have here, is actually has had work experience as well. So that's interesting. Yes, go ahead.
So I was a sailor before joining this GBO program. And what I would like to say that our ship used to come to Kandla and Mundra Port, especially Mundra Port, which has been uh, in which Adani operates. So that port, look, we as an old age sailors, we used to think that these ports are being driven by government. This thing will be slow. We will take anchoring for 10 days, 2 or 3 days for discharging our cargo. But now what Adani has done is that within 24 hours your ship is fit to go back to sail. So this time saving concept has been coming with innovation also that we should highlight while exploring new business market or business segments.
That's a very interesting point, actually, an interesting, first-hand experience that you've had as a sailor, and now that you're, studying business, you'll of course look at all those aspects of convenience, look at that aspect of, bringing in new technology. In fact, let me get in some more voices from here. नई जनरेशन के साथ एक टेक्नोलॉजी में भी एक एडवांसमेंट आता है, because what we've seen, for example, in the Adani group, that they've been upping their game technologically as well. How important is that?
So in today,
to set the base for, or set the foundation for the younger generation to take over.
So in today's world, technology is playing a real impact, having the AI taking over the world. People are saying too much AI. So it's important for the industries, the companies also to take up and move on and take on these important projects also, see what these technologies, how can they impact their revenues, their potential, how they can expand their market reach also there. There are certain sectors which have not been identified yet. So these technologies might be able to help them to explore and venture into these segments also.
Interesting. Do you want to add something?
So, like when we talk about exploring new markets, so I got an opportunity to intern at Adani in these 2 months. So, I was working at a project where Adani is venturing into telecom infrastructure. So, there we can understand that the opportunity is immense, like the opportunity of the OPGW wires are there. So, that is the technological advancement. So, what happens, like Adani is into transmission lines. So it's an added advantage, that OPGW network. So in that way, when we are able to pass that extra benefit of telecom infra along with the transmission lines, so that we can see that it is providing us two benefits using one infrastructure. So in that way, we can clearly understand that how we can provide more, how we can explore new opportunities in a ways like it was not existing before. And now once it is identified, and further more work can be done in that particular domain.
So that's an interesting point, and that also brings me to the aspect of diversification of businesses. What do you think about that as new age entrepreneurs, as budding businessmen? What do you think about this aspect of diversification of business?
Thank you for the question. For the diversification of business, it is really important to understand the market dynamics of that sector. And before venturing into that sector, the needs, the pain points, everything should be identified. Then only we should venture, or Adani should venture into that sector. And Adani has identified its sectors very well, and that's why they are making the mark in those respective sectors, whether it's a cement or ports, etc.
Yeah. All right. You wanted to make a point on that?
I'll just give you a very simple example. For instance, if I own a stationery shop, a retail one, so if I just sell copies, I know that my growth will be very limited. So diversification is very crucial for growth to increase. For instance, if I bring on pens, maybe erasers, so that's when I attract more and more customers, and diversification is very crucial to expand the business, for sure.
Interesting there. And also, while we talk about diversification, one must also have a sense of what one's core competence is, because that is your base, that is your foundation, what your core competence is. Anybody would like to add on that point?
Sir, before launching a product into a market, it's very important to do the SWOT analysis of what your strength and weakness is. So let me brief it, what SWOT analysis stands for: strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. So if you are very well aware of what your strengths are, according to that, you can launch a product in the market that will not only help you to increase your competence, it will also help you to attract more and more customers to your business. So
okay, interesting that.
I would just like to add, जैसे मैंने अभी पहले एग्जांपल लिया था Amazon and Flipkart का, so Flipkart and Amazon are two competitors. But when we talk of the core competence that Flipkart has acquired, it has gone into fashion. They have acquired Myntra, they have acquired Jabong in 2016,
Right.
and Amazon has gone more into tech products. And so that's Flipkart has diversified into other segments like grocery, but their core competence still remains the same, which is fashion.
Right. Also, somebody was briefly mentioning earlier this kind of synergy that needs to be achieved, say, between conventional ways of running businesses and looking at some sort of modernity, how to look at advancement with a different lens, with a new age lens. So how do we achieve that kind of synergy, which I think synergy is extremely important when it comes to running a successful business?
Right. So I believe that we do have traditional ways of running a business, but at the same time, modernity that is driven by innovation is the need of an hour. So I'll talk about my experience at Amazon. So Amazon, I think we are talking about core competency later. The core competency of Amazon, it's robust supply chain management system, and also it has the integration of AI technology at every level of the working. So I would say that modernity that is driven by innovation, plus I would say performance that you mentioned that is driven by purpose, but there's more inclusivity also that has been coming into the organization.
That's interesting.
People in the, I would say that me have an experience of working in Amazon, we were very inclusive with all the leaders as well. So we had an idea of like say 4 years, 5 years, okay, this is what we want to achieve. And that's the day we used to have daily meetings and everything that used to, drive us more.
Younger leaders, as many would say, are more open in their communication as well. And I think communication is again so important to running a successful business. So do you see that as well? That sort of open communication, that open door policy, open scrutiny of decisions?
Yes, I think open communication is very important because it provides us with a raw opinion, it provides us with a true opinion about what we have to improve and what are the things that we are doing right. And from the point of view of communicating to a customer also, having an open opinion brings out the true personality of a company towards the customer, and the customer also knows on what type of brand or company he's interacting with. So it's a very important for the success of the company.
Right. Anybody would like to add to that here?
Yeah, I would also like to add here that the communication always plays a very great role. Means suppose if I want to achieve anything, I do have to convey that to my the subordinate team also. If I'm not able to convey them, then definitely they are not going to carry forward it to the market itself.
Yes. And there has to be a clear line.
Clear line of action, and the clear line of commands also should be established to make sure that it is going like that.
Right.
And if we are talking about the business running traditionally and all that thing, then we have to see here the examples of few others also. Means the company have to understand where means what its consumer base currently wants, means what their need is. Like we have seen in case of Disney when they have acquired the 20th Century Fox. So they were keeping their tradition open, like, okay, this is the time when comic book movies are going really well, and they did that.
So you have to keep up with the times as well. But as we enter, the final, stage of the discussion, what do you expect of younger leaders? Somebody was talking about Pranav and Jeet and Karan. What do you expect younger generations, the issues you expect them to champion, the kind of businesses you would want them to create?
So the younger leaders and the younger generation, what I would expect is they address more of social impacts rather than carrying the traditional values and making businesses great just to make revenue. I believe they should pay more attention to what planet is going and what environment is facing. So I believe the younger leaders will be paying more attention to that and create a sustainable environment and a business as a whole.
As we're discussing, yeah.
Right. Besides that, as we've already discussed, the younger generations are more aware about technology, and perhaps they would think how to solve the same problem using AI or blockchain, for example. So they would be more equipped in that arena. Besides that, we've also seen the younger generation is more inclusive. Like stating my personal experience, I got an opportunity to intern with the Times Group. So there, the leaders, and we were also talking about communication a few minutes ago. So all the business leaders, including, the chief strategy officer, they were very open to communication. We could just walk into their cabin and they're open to receiving those suggestions as compared to a traditional hierarchy that, we could expect.
So more receptiveness, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in addition to that, I think sustainability would also be a major factor for the young leaders. They should take into account the sustainability factor. As we see today in the finance world, ESG investing isn't a buzzword.
Yes.
So ESG stands for basically environmental social governance factors. So we should take into account all those factors while taking into, while earning profits also. So ESG should be taken into account apart from earning profits.
Right, yeah.
And like we can clearly see the concept of made in India. So
Yes,
I really expect I'm expecting this ki these young leaders are going to focus more on the made in India concept and then take these products which are produced in India to the globalized world. Because currently when we see that our imports, we are more import dependent. And like these leaders can focus on transforming our nation to a export dependent nation. Like we're exporting more than the
So
importing.
not just being self-sufficient,
Self-sufficient,
but
also providing to other
looking
countries.
at that's an interesting point, and I'll come to you as well. But looking at this idea of make in India, for example, the Adani Group has been pretty focused on that as well. So how do you see young leaders taking that spirit forward, that spirit of make in India?
So basically, as we know, the government is actually already creating an ecosystem. We have various schemes. Like we have schemes like Sagar Mala, Bharat Mala, and like schemes like PM Mitra, National Freight Dedicated Corridors, where government is actually focusing on building the ecosystem. But the role of young entrepreneurs come into play, where they actually use all these opportunities, track all these opportunities, because the entrepreneurs of young age are much more educated, much more aware about what is going on in the Western countries, and they can actually take that, work on that, and then they can build themselves according to that. So the duty of young entrepreneurs as of now is actually learn, cohort, and build on that.
Okay, that's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah, yes, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, so like I think Adani can play a huge role in Make in India, and how? Because Adani is actually building the core infrastructure in our country besides the government. So like they are giving us the ports, the roads, the energy, green energy. And this can serve as a launch pad for the new entrepreneurs who are going to come into Make in India. So the three main pillars of any, like for an entrepreneur are capital, then human skills and operational resources. So I think Adani is giving us the operational resources, which are the rails and the roads and the ports, and this can greatly help us, grow the Make in India program. It can
In fact,
serve as a great
you put it very interestingly, and I think that's a good note to end the show on as well. That these foundations can actually sort of serve as launch pads, as she put it, for the younger generation. Of course, these young entrepreneurs have a lot that they expect from younger leaders, and hopefully, their expectations are met with, and we create businesses that are sustainable, that are created with a long-term vision, and that ultimately provide opportunities for all. That's it from me on the show. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Prime Minister Modi visits landslide hit Wayanad as he surveys the landslide affected areas. Prime Minister is also set to visit relief camps as well as hospitals. Government says there is no concept of a creamy layer in SC/ST quota, disagrees with Supreme Court's assertion. More unrest follow in Bangladesh. The Chief Justice of Bangladesh quits over the protests from the students. These protests were taking place outside the Bangladesh Supreme Court. The students have in fact surrounded the Bangladesh Supreme Court. A full court meeting was called by the Chief Justice. That was called off. A few members of the Indian men's hockey team returned to India. They were received with a warm welcome at the Delhi airport. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Osama Shah. Our top story at this hour, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he is in Wayanad. He in fact surveyed the landslide and flood affected areas in Wayanad. And during the aerial survey, the Prime Minister saw the origin of that landslide. Now, the Prime Minister is also set to visit the hospitals as well as the relief camps. He will also be visiting the Bailey Bridge that was constructed by the army in record time. The Prime Minister, he undertook an aerial survey in Wayanad before physically visiting the location of the disaster. Now, in the aerial survey, he, in fact, like I mentioned, saw the origin of the landslide, which is in the origin of Iruvazini Puza River. He also observed the worst affected areas of Chudamala and Mundakai, among others. And Pratibha joins us to get us more on this. Pratibha, many are demanding this to be declared as a national disaster. Will Prime Minister's visit help in that particular process now?
Well, to answer your question, yes, it definitely assumes significance, mainly because his visit comes at a time when there are many calls that are being made to declare this a national disaster. Now, talking about this landslide, it has been one of the most devastating ones that Wayanad has seen in the recent past. And also, this is one of the most disturbing pictures as well as horror tales that we've got to witness as far as these landslides are concerned. Considering the fact that Prime Minister Modi would be visiting not just the rescue personnel in terms of taking stock of the situation, but will also be talking to the survivors to get a first-hand update on the kind of difficulties that they have faced, also the facilities that have been provided to them. And keeping all this in mind, some concrete steps would perhaps be taken by the centre with Prime Minister Modi leading the show there. Initially, he had assigned two union ministers. One was Mr. George Kurian and the other was Mr. Suresh Gopi, who did take stock of the situation and submit a report as well. But this is a personal visit that has been made by Prime Minister Modi. This also comes at a time when there have been raging debates between the centre as well as the state, as well as the Congress and the BJP there. And that is precisely why Prime Minister Modi's visit assumes a lot of significance at this point in time. Back to you.
Absolutely. And in fact, Pratibha, there have also been calls for a judicial probe, especially into the alleged land scam that has taken place in Kerala, and which has then again allegedly disturbed the ecosystem of that area as well.
Well, this is not the first time that such reports are being debated upon. In fact, there have been two reports that were led by some of the most eminent personalities to try and see that this region, especially the Western Ghats region, be declared an ecologically sensitive zone, and that has only remained on paper. Why wasn't concrete steps taken? These are some of the questions that have already been raised, and that is precisely why there is a call for a judicial probe as well. Now, talking about the region of Wayanad where the landslides occurred, well, we are talking of not just the forest region, we are also talking about the hilly regions where there are tea plantations, and how this could affect the soil, loose soil that we have time and again been talking about, and how this needs to be preserved. These are some of the questions that definitely needs a lot of thought, a lot of study, as well as a lot of solution that needs to be put in place. And Prime Minister Modi there visiting that region and taking stock of the situation would definitely amount to some sort of concrete steps, is what people are waiting and hoping for. And that is why this needs to be closely watched at this point in time.
All right, Pratibha Raman, thank you very much for getting us all the latest from the ground there. In fact, to help the displaced people and assist in rehabilitation efforts, NDTV has started the Care for Kerala campaign. Now, actors like Shriya Saran and Sharat Kumar, they joined the NDTV campaign, the Care for Kerala. Listen in to what their message is.
Hi, I'm Shriya Saran. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate. Let's rebuild Wayanad.
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
And Minister of Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav, he said that there is no concept of a creamy layer in scheduled castes and scheduled tribes reservation while announcing key cabinet decisions. Now, Ashwini Vaishnav has said an in-depth discussion was held at the cabinet meeting on a recent Supreme Court judgment that made certain suggestions on the reservation for the SCs and the STs. The top court has said that states must identify the creamy layer in SC and ST categories and exclude them from reservation benefit.
माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आरक्षण के विषय पर एक जजमेंट दिया है। इस जजमेंट ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एससी और एसटी के रिजर्वेशन के विषय में कुछ सुझाव दिए। आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की अध्यक्षता में कैबिनेट में इस विषय पर विस्तृत चर्चा हुई है। एनडीए सरकार बाबा साहेब अंबेडकर जी के बनाए संविधान के प्रावधानों के प्रति प्रतिबद्ध है, संकल्पबद्ध है। बाबा साहेब अंबेडकर जी के संविधान के अनुसार एससी और एसटी के रिजर्वेशन में क्रीमी लेयर का कोई प्रावधान नहीं है।
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने उन्हें ये आश्वासन दिया कि एससी व एसटी वर्गों के आरक्षण में क्रीमी लेयर तथा उनका उप वर्गीकरण नहीं होने दिया जाएगा। इस पर गौर किया जाएगा कि जो ये आश्वासन दिया गया है अगर वो पूरा किया जाता है तो इसका हमारी पार्टी स्वागत करेगी। परंतु इस आश्वासन को तो तभी पूरा किया जा सकता है जब केंद्र सरकार वर्तमान में चल रहे संसद सत्र में ही एक संविधान
All right, the Prime Minister there, he is getting briefed by the security forces and people who have been involved in the rescue operations, giving him a sense of what has transpired over the last couple of days in Wayanad. A horrific tragedy struck in Wayanad that basically took the lives of over 400 people. A massive landslide and flash floods has literally changed the landscape of many areas in Wayanad district. Now, the Prime Minister, today he arrived in Kerala early in the morning at 11 a.m. He was received by the Kerala Chief Minister and the Governor of Kerala, Arif Mohammed Khan, both, as you can see, accompanying him while he takes stock of the situation there. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, is being briefed by senior officials of the army there, and he is also going to be chairing a review meeting later, during which he will be briefed in detail about the incident and the ongoing relief efforts. And what you can see on your screen right now is the scale of devastation that has taken place in Wayanad, and Prime Minister Modi there on the ground taking stock of the situation, trying to understand what all transpired in the last couple of days. Prime Minister Modi is also being accompanied by the Chief Minister as well as the Governor of Kerala. Remember, Prime Minister Modi's visit, it is crucial for the rehabilitating the landslide devastated people. In fact, there have been calls from the opposition as well as the ruling front, which has requested the central government to declare this tragedy, that landslide that literally flattened areas of Churalmala, Mundakai and Attamala localities as a national disaster. In fact, in the meanwhile, the Kerala government has in fact sought assistance for rehabilitation and relief work in the disaster-stricken region. Remember, over at least 226 people had died and many remained unaccounted for after the landslide hit the region on July 30th, which is what is being seen as one of the biggest natural disasters to have impacted the southern state. There have been also talks of the imbalance, the ecological imbalance that is now taking place in states like Kerala as well as Tamil Nadu, etc. We have seen instances of floods in Chennai in the last couple of years. landslides and flash floods in Kerala, and very recently this tragedy that has struck, landslide and flash floods that took the lives of many in Wayanad district of Kerala. Now, the Prime Minister Modi, he's on the ground at the moment, being accompanied by senior BJP leaders as well as the Chief Minister of Kerala, taking stock of the situation. He's being briefed about what all has transpired at Wayanad. Remember, the Prime Minister, he arrived in Wayanad right after taking off from Kannur in an Indian Air Force helicopter, where after which he conducted an aerial survey as well, and was in fact briefed while he was taking the aerial survey as well. The Union Minister of State for Petroleum and Tourism, Suresh Gopi, was also accompanying him then. Teams, like I mentioned, that are involved in the rescue operation will brief him about the evacuation efforts, also give him an account of the scale of destruction that has taken place in Wayanad. The Prime Minister, he will be visiting the relief camps and the hospital as well, where he will be meeting and interacting with the victims as well as the survivors of the landslide. In fact, as you can see on your screens, the Prime Minister was being briefed by the law enforcement officers as well as people who had been involved in the rescue efforts there. In fact, Kerala Police ADGP Law and Order Ajit Kumar, he in fact briefed Prime Minister Modi about the damage and the scale of that damage that has taken place especially at Churalmala district. The Prime Minister was also seen walking through the affected areas. He in fact visited one of the government schools in Churalmala that had been severely affected, and he in fact also assessed the damage. He was also accompanied by Suresh Gopi, Governor Arif Mohammad Khan, Chief Secretary V. Venu, as well as the Chief Minister of Kerala. All right, another big story that we are tracking at this hour is the ongoing Bangladesh crisis. Now, the Chief Justice of Bangladesh, he has quit after the students' protest. Now, Chief Justice Ubaidul Hassan, he has quit following the protest by the students there. A full court meeting was called by the Chief Justice that had been called off. The Chief Justice had called the meeting without consulting the interim government, is what we are learning at this point. The student protesters, they say and they allege that the judges are in fact part of a bigger conspiracy and a larger conspiracy. Remember Ubaidul Hassan, who was appointed to helm the Supreme Court last year. He is in fact seen as a loyalist to the now ousted Premier Sheikh Hasina. The Chief Justice of Bangladesh has in fact now decided to step down. He has in fact stepped down from his post after calls for his resignation grew on Saturday. And Vishnu Shom joins us live to get us more on this. Vishnu, first of all, I mean, there was a sense of calm for a brief period of time. But from now, what we are learning is that the Chief Justice has resigned. What does it mean for Bangladesh at the moment, and what were the problem that the students had from the Chief Justice, and what were the exact demands?
Well, the breaking news at this stage is that the Chief Justice of Bangladesh has resigned. This is after intense protests by protesters led by student groups outside the High Court building in Dhaka. Now, the High Court building houses both the High Court and the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. And the person who has resigned at this stage is the Chief Justice of Bangladesh, who has quit. Now, he has been in the custody of the army in a safe house. I shouldn't use the word custody since he's free to do what he wants, but he's been under the protective sort of presence of the Bangladesh army for the last couple of days. And while he was doing that in a safe house, he decided to get onto a Zoom conversation with other judges of the Supreme Court. That's what we are told. And this was seen as an attempt at trying to build a conspiracy. So within hours, there was a mobilization of hundreds of protesters linked to the BNP, that's the main opposition party, student protesters thrown in over there. They went and thronged the High Court building, and you can see images of that on your screen right now. And they gave the Chief Justice 1 hour to step down and 1 hour to resign, which is what he's done at this stage. The Supreme Court of Bangladesh and judges of the Bangladesh find themselves squarely in the crosshairs of the anger of protesters. Why? Because it was a quota for the descendants of those who had fought in the Liberation War in 1971 in jobs that the Supreme Court of Bangladesh had actually given a go-ahead to, which is what triggered the protests by students in the first place, who said that how is it that there is a 30% reservation in jobs, in government jobs, at a time when there is so much unemployment? And so that resulted and cascaded and snowballed into all of these protests, which resulted in Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, fleeing her country, etc., etc. But there is a purge which is taking place in Bangladesh. From what we know, it's not violent in that sense, but the Chief Justice has resigned, senior police officials have resigned, senior members of the administration are being replaced. Many of these individuals are being kept safe in safe houses presently, given the anger on the ground. And of course, Sheikh Hasina's own party and political leaders over there have also been taken into custody. At the moment, their lives are safe. There isn't something to indicate that this is all going in that direction. But it's all part of a huge purge taking place in Bangladesh as this new interim government, shapes up and starts getting down to business. The latest victim of this purge is the Chief Justice.
All right, Vishnu Shom, thank you very much for putting everything in perspective. So as Vishnu was mentioning, the Chief Justice of Bangladesh, he has quit after calls for protests from the student bodies along with other protesters there. And breaking news coming in at this point, Vinesh Phogat's decision is now going to come by 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. The IOC, Vinesh versus the United World Wrestling decision is on Phogat's silver medal. Remember, Vinesh Phogat, who had a tremendous campaign at the Paris Olympics where she went on to beat the world champion as well as the defending Olympic champion in her first round, followed it up with the European champion, defeating the European champion Oksana Livac, and then defeating the Pan American champion Guzman in that semi-final bout. He had reached the final, a first for any Indian woman wrestler to have reached the final of a wrestling event at the Olympics. And for now, what we are learning at the moment is the time for tribunal's decision has been extended. Vinesh Phogat's appeal, the time for that tribunal's decision has been extended. That decision is likely to come by 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time today. It was a heartbreak for the Indian champion Vinesh Phogat after she was disqualified for being just over 100 grams before the weigh-in on the day of her final bout. Remember, the Court of Arbitration for Sports was hearing the Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat's plea against her disqualification at the Paris Olympics. In her appeal, Vinesh Phogat, she had requested for a joint silver as she was found 100 grams overweight after she won the semi-final bout against Guzman at Paris. Now, in a major development in that particular case, Vinesh Phogat's court hearing the case has been concluded and the decision is likely to be announced today at 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And Rika joins us live from Paris to get us more on this. Rika, what are the latest updates? What more can you tell us?
Well, this is a press release that we have got from the tribunal that the decision will be announced on or before 6 p.m. Paris time or 9:30 p.m. India time. Today, the case was heard at a tribunal, CAS tribunal yesterday. And I can tell you that 4 French lawyers appeared for Vinesh Fogart. And these lawyers were appearing pro bono for the athlete. And there were, of course, friends of the court, Harish Salve and Vidushpat Singhania representing the Indian Olympic Association. They're also a party to this case. They argued that Vinesh Fogart, she had not done anything intentionally. There was no malicious intent. She had tried everything in her books to manage the weight. The weight could not be managed, and hence she was disqualified, and the disqualification in itself is not right. She should have been allowed to fight. Most of the appeal was made on emotional grounds that she tried everything in her books to manage her weight but was unable to do so. Hence, she should be awarded a joint silver.
Absolutely, Rika. And in fact, the Indian Olympic Association, it has also remained very hopeful of a positive resolution for the wrestlers' application before that ad hoc division of the Court of Arbitration for Sports. What can the IOA expect from the court, and what can be the positive likelihood from this particular hearing that you're mentioning right now?
Osama, there are it's a clear-cut case of a positive or a negative decision. Positive decision has to be awarding a silver medal to Vinesh Fogart. Negative decision would be no medal for her. But, the case is led. There have been heavy lobbying for Vinesh Fogart by, various agencies, even private players getting involved in this. And getting in someone as a heavyweight, a lawyer as Harish Salve to appear for Indian Olympic Association. There have been private funders who've been backing IOA to win this case for Vinesh Fogart. It is a lot of prestige of India at stake. Remember, we stand at 6 medals right now. If this happens, if a silver comes our way, then it will be the 7th medal for India. Well, the hopes, I would say, are very slim, because we were speaking to the head of UWW yesterday, and he said that if the court, asks us to grant the silver, in no event there are 2 medals, basically. Right. So if the court then grant the silver, it'll be exceptional. Then IOC has to look into it. B, it would also be a case of UWW having to change competition rules. Competition rules are never changed while competition is on. So whatever changes, Osama, happens in the competition rules, if the court suggests will happen after the Olympic Games, it'll be for the next 4 years cycle. It cannot happen in the middle of a competition.
Absolutely. But, what the Indian Olympic Association also said, that it was in fact its duty to back Vinesh, and that is what they have done. That decision is expected by 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and this is for Fogart's silver medal. Time for a very short break. More on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razer 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Prime Minister Modi visits landslide hit Wayanad as he surveys the landslide affected areas. He's also set to visit relief camps and the hospitals. Government says there is no concept of a creamy layer in scheduled caste, scheduled tribe quota. Disagrees with the Supreme Court's assertion. More unrest follow in Bangladesh. The Chief Justice of Bangladesh quits over student protests. These protests were taking place outside the Bangladesh Supreme Court. A full court meeting was called by the Chief Justice. It has been called off. A few members of the Indian men's hockey team returned to India. They were received with a warm welcome at the Delhi airport.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, a show that gives you a ringside view of all that matters to India in the world of global politics and global economics. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Let's take a look at the headlines this Friday evening. First up,
After days of turmoil, Bangladesh has a new interim government headed by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus. All eyes now on the transition towards elections focus on the Indian subcontinent, where India, US and China are locked in an intense geopolitical power play. After a wave of riots engulfed the UK with far-right groups clashing with immigrants, the Starmer government has clamped down heavily with 480 arrests and several convictions. But questions related to UK's broken immigration system remain. Kamala Harris chooses Tim Walz as her vice president pick. The race for the White House now moves to the next phase, even as questions rise about Trump's campaign hitting a rough patch ever since Harris entered the race. Days after incidents of violence were reported in Bangladesh after Sheikh Hasina fled the country, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres expresses opposition to any radically motivated attacks. Neeraj Chopra wins silver at the Paris Olympics. Chopra becomes the first athlete in modern India to have back-to-back Olympic medals. Indian hockey makes the nation proud with another bronze. It's an unprecedented week for Bangladesh. Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus is now the caretaker prime minister of the country, even as the regime prepares for a post-Sheikh Hasina era in Bangladesh. The transition for Bangladesh from here on will determine what really happens in the power competition that's underway in the Indian subcontinent between US, India and China. And that's our big story on India Ascends. The power dynamics that is at play in the Indian subcontinent and its impact from Myanmar to Pakistan to Nepal to Bangladesh to Sri Lanka. It is evident in all these countries. Take Maldives, for instance, that map on your screens. Current President Moizu won on an India out campaign, and his government is now siding with China. Now, this, in an extreme case, could potentially impact even the movement and access to the Indo-Pacific, a possibility that impacts both India and the US. Move forward, take a look at Pakistan. To the US, it's still perceived as a key partner to remain relevant in Afghanistan. It's also being offered truckloads of loans and money by China for precisely this reason, that Pakistan is important for US and it's important for India because it is part of its strategic and security calculus. Take a look at Nepal, where prime ministers are practically playing musical chairs. The current PM, Oli, has been the PM for the third time in 9 years, has a history of being hostile to India. In the past, he laid claims to areas that lie at the tri-junction with India and China, the one which is one of the routes to Mansarovar. So that again is where you see India-China engaged in a power play. Same is the case with Bhutan, where China has been using its checkbook to get access to this strategically important Doklam region. And India continues to build on its strong and historic ties that it shares with Bhutan in trade, transport, people-to-people areas. Now let's move on to Colombo, another country at the Indo-Pacific where the power play is happening. It needs large funds to continue its economic revival. China's loans are the very reason why Colombo is in the economic misery that it is, but it has a compromised public finance, which means it can go back to China. So how do you counter it? Competitive or probably collaborative funding, aid, grants is what is needed from India and the US to be part of this power play and to be a significant player. Now let's move on to Bangladesh, where China, India and the US have differing goals and they have differing approaches to achieve those. India backed the January election, US did not. In fact, in this mess, China swooped in and has been doing so for the last decade. What has it done? It didn't get into the election. It ensured that it provided Dhaka with submarines and its very first submarine base. And that's the important, that in the immediate, India needs to focus on the long land border it shares with Bangladesh, the longest, and also prepare for a humanitarian challenge. But the long term, Countries that sit on key connectivity routes and strategic points on the Indo-Pacific are essentially playing big powers amongst each other. And India needs to get this power dynamics right. US sanctioned Awami League leaders after the January elections this year in Bangladesh, but did not do so when it happened in Pakistan, where the army rigged the election completely. Why? Because for the US, it's not the election per se that matters. It's the hedging of its strategic risks in the region that matters, because it is engaged in this deep power play in the Indian subcontinent. And India needs to now do the same, ace its game. Visit to the Maldives by Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is a first and good step, but it needs to build on this further. Let's move on and now take a look at the first wide-angle story on the show, the mess that's unfolded on the streets of UK. The last riot that took place in London was in 2011. It was triggered when a black man was killed by the London police. But in 13 years, a lot has happened and a lot has changed in England. Its polity is now fractured, the divisions on immigration have only sharpened, and while the UK may have exited the EU, it is not insulated from the undercurrent of the anti-immigrant sentiment that is brewing across Europe. The attacks on immigrants and the far-right protests that spread to 17 cities is testimony to just that. 110 police officers were injured. The riots also led to widespread protests, 483 arrests, 149 charged. The visuals of looting and riots in a first world country led to India issuing an advisory for its citizens. But the larger issue is immigration and how it's a political hot potato now in the UK. Now, whether it's for Keir Starmer or his predecessor, Rishi Sunak, immigration reform is the biggest policy area that is yet to be addressed. Indians form the largest chunk of immigrants. So whatever Keir Starmer decides impacts us. How UK decides on this issue has huge ramifications for us. But take a look at this report to know how immigration issue has been brewing for the last 15 years with absolutely no solution for government after government. It was in 2010 that the then Prime Minister of UK, David Cameron, had pledged to cut net migration in the country to less than 1 lakh, a figure he never managed to come anywhere close to. 6 years later, Cameron took the Brexit gamble, in the hope that UK would be able to take control of its borders. But as he left 10 Downing Street for better times, record migration levels caused the system to burst at its seams. In 2016, net migration to the UK stood at 2.52 lakh. This figure climbed to 4.66 lakhs by 2021 and jumped to 7.45 lakh by 2022. Clearly, Rishi Sunak's Stop the Boats campaign did little to actually stop the boats, even though he sent those coming from Rwanda route back. Sunak also stopped international students from bringing family members. He hiked salary threshold for skilled worker visas by 50% and restricted care workers from bringing in their dependents. But the failure of these policies had been a precipitating factor in birthing political parties like Reform for UK, a far-right political outfit that is against immigration. Britain spends £3 billion annually on processing asylum applications and £8 million daily in housing migrants in hotels that were attacked by rioters. It was one such hotel that was attacked and started the cycle of arson and violence, and has blurred the lines between legitimate immigration and asylum seekers. Where it ends will decide the fate of a lot of Indians that legitimately move to the UK every year. Facing a crisis of this magnitude within his very first month in office, Prime Minister Keir Starmer may choose to continue with the existing measures that were put in place by the previous Sunak government. Ad hoc measures to check illegal immigration do little to really address the larger problem, and which is that UK is facing skilled labour shortage that is impacting sector after sector, and a continued status quo hits India hard. India constitutes the largest category of immigrants. This means that the graduate route will remain unchanged, but the wait for lakhs of students and care workers to bring in their dependents to the UK may grow longer. Starmer proposed a reform, but what the UK may get is continuation of the previous government's ad hoc measures, and what is needed is a comprehensive look at UK's immigration program. Second wide angle on the show. Well, it's been less than 3 weeks that Joe Biden exited the race and instead endorsed his Vice President Kamala Harris for the top job. Harris's Vice President candidate is now Tim Walz. In fact, his selection has not caught any by surprise. He's a low-profile Midwesterner. He's a former high school teacher. Tim Walz will remain in the shadow of Kamala Harris. And just like Harris, not much is known about Tim Walz and his foreign policy stances, particularly on thorny issues like the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict or the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which is in its third year. And that's our second wide-angle story this week. What should the world expect from Team Harris? Will Team Harris be a continuation of the Biden foreign policy agenda, or could there be some major changes to that? In fact, it's less than 100 days to go for US elections, and the race is now neck to neck, with some polls giving Kamala Harris a slim lead over Donald Trump. To discuss this next phase of the US elections and what happens as far as Team Harris's agenda going forward is concerned, I'm joined by Rick Rosso, Senior Advisor at CSIS, joining us live on NDTV. Thanks much, Rick, for joining us on this program. My first question to you is that as we talk about what lies ahead in terms of the specifics of this case, what does it mean as far as Team Harris's agenda for India is concerned?
Yeah, it is a bit of a black box. Despite Kamala Harris having Indian heritage, she's never really kind of embraced a powerful leadership role in the administration or time on Senate, occasionally voicing, because of course she has that nuance and understanding of India better than what you'd see from a lot of candidates, but never really embraced it and wrapped herself up as trying to be a leader in Washington on that topic. And as governor of Minnesota, Governor Walz, of course, very, very similar, not really a lot of opportunities. So I think a lot of what you're going to see from a Harris administration, should that come to pass, is going to be defined a little bit more by the candidates they choose for different cabinet roles, for the National Security Council, things like that. I think those are the people that day to day are really going to choose the direction and tenure in terms of what we're doing with India in the coming years, should there be a Harris administration. And I think under that, I think it's easy to kind of expect that we'd see basically a bit of a status quo. I think they'll probably take over a lot of the ideas and initiatives from the Biden administration, meaning that relatively positive on trade, very forward-leaning on defense and security, but still occasionally bringing up concerns about human rights and things like that. So I think that's probably the status quo we can kind of understand, but some of it will be driven by individual personalities that get appointed into the administration.
It's a bit of a black box as far as what Kamala Harris will come up with. But a lot of people say that it's actually honeymoon period for Kamala Harris right now, early days into the campaign, but it may end soon. And then what she's looking at is probably a competition that's going down to the wires. Do you think it's going to be a stiff election?
Yeah, you've always got a bit of a bump when you have somebody new that doesn't have, quite the same long governance track record. With Biden, it's easy to point to a few victories, but a lot of areas where maybe they fell short of people's expectations. So as we've seen, incumbent presidents tend to have relatively low ratings when it comes to re-election time, even though, several candidates have actually won re-election in recent years, not Trump, but the previous presidents. So, you get a bit of a bump when you have a new candidate, when you have a new vice presidential candidate. You can expect that to fade to some extent. But, we still have a relatively long road ahead, plenty of opportunities for both candidates to say things that could help or harm if they ever do figure out an opportunity to get together for a debate. I mean, just look, we've had, one presidential debate, and that changed dramatically the course of the election. So I do think that, status quo, there's an opportunity, I think, to lose a bit of steam. but a lot of opportunities to regain it and find new areas that are going to actually impact, what we have for the final result, including, again, if they manage to find an opportunity to debate each other directly on stage.
If one were to compare Team Harris and Team Trump, how do you see them on some of the important priorities and focus areas when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to India?
Well, I think, a Trump administration, you would expect, as we saw before, to be a lot more focused on domestic constituents. Not to say that, a Harris administration wouldn't, because, first and foremost, every president is beholden first and foremost to domestic voters. But, with Trump, you saw a very heavy emphasis on that. And some of these, very tense issues that we see right now on concerns about globalization. Are we encouraging companies to go overseas when we should be creating jobs locally? Concerns about migration, illegal migration across the border, about involvement in foreign wars. That's where you actually see that really strong domestic focus begins to intervene in some of the global issues where the United States has traditionally shown a leadership role on. I think with the Harris administration, it'll be a little more balanced. I think, for instance, supporting Ukraine will remain a primary mission. I think that there'll be some appetite still, like we've seen with India, to encourage companies to consider outbound investments if it's meeting other goals like climate. Climate itself, of course, is another dramatic area where we're going to see a big change. The Trump administration was not very comfortable talking about climate change, pulled out of the Paris Accords. Democrats brought us back in. If Trump wins, I think you can expect that we're going to leave again and less leadership from the United States. So on security, I think when it comes to China, there's not a lot of daylight between the two candidates. Maybe a difference on how they speak about it, some of the actions, but not a lot of difference. But on other security matters, on issues like immigration, certainly on trade and on climate, there is where I think you're going to see a lot bigger differences depending on who wins the election.
Richard Rosso, thanks much for taking out the time and speaking to me on India Sense. We'll keep coming back on the next course of action as far as the US elections is concerned. But with that, we're slipping into a very, very short break. We come back with lots more on the other side of India Sense. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Though a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your.
Welcome back. You're watching India Sense with me, Gauri Dwivedi. Let's take a look at now Middle East, where we get another top voice on the show. The Middle East has been on the boil since the 7th of October attack on Israel and its subsequent retaliation against Iran's proxies in the region, whether it's Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. And the latest flashpoint in the escalating tensions has been Israel's assassination of top Hezbollah and Hamas commanders. And the world is now bracing for a possible Iranian response. A large-scale attack will descend the world towards a larger war, could probably even force America to come in, something that both presidential candidates do not want to do. How likely is a larger conflict? How will a volatile and unstable Middle East impact India, impact the world? And how successful will be some of the current peace efforts that are being tried by Qatar, US and others to de-escalate the situation and look at a possible ceasefire as well? Gregory Brew of Eurasia Group joins me to decode this story and the larger implications of that. Gregory, thanks much for speaking to me on NDTV. I want to ask you this, that the present situation in Middle East, how do you view that? There is a chance of an Iranian retaliatory attack as well, even as some efforts are being made as far as bringing in some de-escalation.
So I think the current situation bears quite a number of similarities with the crisis from April that ensued following Israel's bombing of Iran's consulate in Damascus that killed a number of senior IRGC generals. That attack, of course, then precipitated Iran's historic attack on Israel on April 13th that involved firing more than 300 ballistic missiles and drones directly from Iran towards Israel. Now, following that attack, Iran indicated that it would do so again, that it would launch similar attacks if it was similarly provoked. And it regards Israel's assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh last week as a significant provocation, one that requires a similar response. So all the indications suggest that Iran is likely to attack Israel again, as it did in April, that it is likely to use its ballistic missile forces once again. The difference now is that there is likely to be an element from Iran's resistance front coalition. Groups such as Hezbollah and the Houthis in Yemen are also likely to be incorporated into Iran's response. Once again, this is going to be an attack from Iran directly against Israel. It is likely to come in the following days.
Okay.
And both Israel and the United States have indicated that they expect this attack and that are prepared for it as far as positioning air defense assets and other elements that would assist Israel in defending against such an attack.
But Gregory, do you think with these peace efforts being tried, the Iranian attack may be more cosmetic in nature and not so widespread and not so significant?
I think this retaliation, this attack from Iran is likely to have a number of similarities with the attack in April. But that attack, as you noted, came with a degree of telegraphing. Iran gave the United States and other regional actors several days of notice. It gave everyone ample time to prepare. And it, I think, designed the attack to largely function as a show of force to restore deterrence. I think things are likely to go in a different way this time. I don't think Iran is likely to give everyone as much notice as they did in April. I do think they are going to try harder to do actual physical damage to Israel to respond to the Haniyeh killing. There is, of course, also the Hezbollah element. Hezbollah has to respond to Israel's assassination of Fuad Shukr, a senior commander who was killed in Beirut last week. So the new context, the different conditions, And the increased provocations mean that Iran and its allies need to go a little further than they did in April. That suggests a more serious attack that carries with it greater escalatory risk.
Gregory, appreciate you joining us to give us a sense of how things stand right now in West Asia. There's hope that some of those peace efforts actually lead to something positive. On that note, let's now shift gears and the inside story on India Sense this week. Well, it may be out of boredom that one may think of. Seems that is indeed the case now. New research suggests that climate change has had a fair chance and far-reaching impact on the axis of Earth and its rotation as well. The reason why we think their days are longer. Take a look at this report to know how pollution is making our days much longer than what it is. Imagine a figure skater spinning at fast pace. And now imagine what happens if she extends her arms. Well, she slows down. This is exactly what's happening to Earth and how it's spinning or rotating. Record pollution levels ever since the advent of Industrial Revolution have been planet-altering in many ways, including making nights shorter and days longer. So how have we reached here? Pollution has caused temperatures to rise, leading to melting of polar ice and glaciers. The resulting extra water has been accumulating near the equator, causing Earth to bulge slightly. And this has slowed the planet's rotation. So in just 2 centuries, humans have altered what worked for billions of years. In actual time, it could be 0.3 to 1 milliseconds, but it may increase to 2.6 milliseconds by the end of the century. But it's not just the duration of a day. The redistribution of Earth's weight has also made it wobbly. Research suggests the planet's spin axis has meandered by about 30 feet. If days continue to get longer, it is likely to impact everything related to GPS, and a wobbly Earth will be more prone to earthquakes. As for space travel, despite all breakthroughs in technology, planet-altering pollution could make it more challenging for humanity going forward.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Prime Minister Modi visits landslide hit Wayanad district. The Prime Minister there surveyed the landslide affected areas. He is also set to visit relief camps as well as the hospitals. The decision on Vinesh Phogat's silver medal is expected by 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. It is Phogat and Indian Olympic Association have asked to be given a silver medal. The government says there is no concept of a creamy layer in SC/ST quota, disagrees with Supreme Court's assertion. Reports of more unrest in Bangladesh. Chief Justice of Bangladesh quits over protests. These protests were taking place outside the Bangladesh Supreme Court. Nitin Gadkari writes to the Punjab Chief Minister on highways. He says he might cancel 8 NHAI projects as Mr. Gadkari wants. Gadkari says that NHAI workers are being attacked in Punjab. A few members of the Indian men's hockey team returned to India. They were received with a warm welcome at the Delhi airport. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Osama Shah. Our top story that we are tracking at this hour, the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnavi, said that there is no concept of a creamy layer in scheduled castes and scheduled tribes reservation while announcing key cabinet decisions. Now, Vaishnav said that an in-depth discussion was held at the cabinet meeting on a recent Supreme Court judgment that made certain suggestions on the reservation for the SCs and STs. The top court has said that states must identify the creamy layer in the SC and ST categories and exclude them from a reservation benefit.
माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने आरक्षण के विषय पर एक जजमेंट दिया है। इस जजमेंट ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एससी और एसटी के रिजर्वेशन के विषय में कुछ सुझाव दिए। आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की अध्यक्षता में कैबिनेट में इस विषय पर विस्तृत चर्चा हुई है। एनडीए सरकार बाबा साहेब अंबेडकर जी के बनाए संविधान के प्रावधानों के प्रति प्रतिबद्ध है, संकल्पबद्ध है। बाबा साहेब अंबेडकर जी के संविधान के अनुसार एससी और एसटी के रिजर्वेशन में क्रीमी लेयर का कोई प्रावधान नहीं है।
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने उन्हें ये आश्वासन दिया कि एससी व एसटी वर्गों के आरक्षण में क्रीमी लेयर तथा उनका उप वर्गीकरण नहीं होने दिया जाएगा। इस पर गौर किया जाएगा कि जो ये आश्वासन दिया गया है, अगर वो पूरा किया जाता है तो इसका हमारी पार्टी स्वागत करेगी। परंतु इस आश्वासन को तो तभी पूरा किया जा सकता है जब केंद्र सरकार वर्तमान में चल रहे संसद सत्र में ही एक संविधान संशोधन लाकर माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट के इस निर्णय को निष्प्रभावी बनाते हुए ये प्रावधान लाती है कि एससी एवं एसटी वर्गों के आरक्षण के लिए इन जातियों को कभी भी उप वर्गीकृत नहीं किया जा सकेगा।
तो हम अपने अगर प्रैक्टिकल होकर के अपने आसपास के परिवेश को भी देखें तो निश्चित रूप से जो एससी कैटेगरी के लोग हैं उसमें बहुत सारे ऐसे विभिन्न जातियां हैं जिसको कोटा विद इन कोटा की बात की जा रही है। अच्छा, एक चीज और, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में जो रिजर्वेशन लाया गया उसका केंद्र बिंदु क्या था? वो था अनटचेबिलिटी, तो आप देखेंगे कि हमारे भी सोसाइटी में अभी वर्तमान में देखने को मिलेगा कि कुछ जातियां ऐसी हैं जो अनटचेबिलिटी के घेरे से वो बाहर आ चुकी हैं, लेकिन कुछ जातियां ऐसी हैं जो अभी भी, जैसे नाम भी लेने में ये लगता है, भंगी, मुसहर, ये सब समाज के जो लोग हैं, वाकई में वो बहुत ज्यादा अभी नीचे हैं। और छुआछूत जैसी चीजें हम लोग को देखने को अक्सर मिल जाती है सोसाइटी में। तो मुझे लगता है कि इंस्टेंट इस पे करने से पहले एक वाकई में एक स्टडी होनी चाहिए कि वर्तमान में अनुसूचित जाति के जितनी भी जातियां हैं उनके बीच में किस तरह के कैटेगरी, मतलब कौन सी जाति अपलिफ्टेड है या कौन सी जाति अभी बहुत ज्यादा नीचे है, उनको आगे ले जाने की जरूरत है। तो मुझे लगता है कि इसको ये देखने की आवश्यकता है जो ऑनरेबल हाई कोर्ट ने इंडिकेट किया है।
TDP has been fighting for this cause for the last 20 years. In fact, during the earlier Chandrababu Naidu ji's government, we have represented in the court also from the government side. We believe after 75 years, there has to be a comprehensive relook at the whole process. And there is a cry from certain sections of the SC/ST community that justice is not being done as per the quota of their population. So we strongly support this move. And in Andhra Pradesh, and BJP has earlier clarified clearly that as far as things of Andhra Pradesh are concerned, it would be a joint decision of all the three parties. So there is clarity on that front. And I probably think since this issue has come up now, it might be a good idea to look at a similar classification in the Muslim community also. Might be a good idea for one to ponder on.
So the cabinet has in fact rejected that creamy layer suggestion by the Supreme Court. The cabinet assertion after key BJP meet says that there is no provision for a creamy layer. While there have been reactions that are coming in fact, Mallikarjun Kharge has reacted on the same. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
आप क्रीमी लेयर ला के क्या किसको फायदा देना चाहते हैं? कि क्रीमी लेयर लाकर आप एक तरफ अछूत समाज को, शेड्यूल कास्ट को कुचल रहे हैं और दूसरी तरफ जो लोग हजारों सालों से सभी चीजें एंजॉय किए हैं उनको दे रहे हैं। ये इसके लिए मैं ये कंडम करता हूँ। जब तक इस देश में अनटचेबिलिटी है, अस्पृश्यता है, तब तक ये रिजर्वेशन रहना चाहिए।
All right, another big story that we are tracking at this hour is that the Prime Minister, he is in Wayanad. The Prime Minister surveyed the landslide and flood-affected areas in Wayanad. He, in fact, after doing an aerial survey where the Prime Minister saw the origin of the landslide, he visited the hospital. He's right now at one of the relief camps meeting the survivors and victims of the landslide. He's talking to all those people there, interacting with the rescue the people at that hospital and that relief camp, the doctors, people who have been associated with the rescue efforts and evacuation process there. Prime Minister Modi is after meeting the victims and the survivors, he'll also be visiting the Bailey Bridge that was constructed by the army in record time. Prime Minister Modi, he is at one of the relief camps. In fact, Kerala Governor Arif Mohammed Khan and Suresh Gopi, they were accompanying the Prime Minister along with the Chief Minister of Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan. The Prime Minister, he undertook an aerial survey in Wayanad before physically visiting the location of the disaster. Now, in the aerial survey, he saw the origin of the landslide. He also observed the worst affected areas, including Mundakai and Churamala there. And to help the displaced people and assist in the rehabilitation efforts, NDTV has started the Care for Kerala campaign. Now, many people, including celebrities, they are joining this campaign. Actor Shriya Sharan as well as Sharath Kumar, they joined the NDTV campaign Care for Kerala. Listen in to their messages.
Hi, I'm Shriya Sharan. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate, let's rebuild Wayanad.
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
All right, the Court of Arbitration for Sports will announce the final decision on wrestler Vinesh Phogat's plea challenging her Olympic disqualification today at 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Now, the CAS or CAS will likely decide on her request to award a joint silver medal. The Court of Arbitration for Sports will announce the final verdict on ace Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat's plea against her disqualification at the Paris Olympics today. Remember, Vinesh Phogat, she had in her appeal, she had requested a joint silver after she was found overweight and after she won the semi-final in Paris. Now, the Court of Arbitration will announce that verdict today at 9:30. In fact, Thomas Bach, the president of the International Olympic Committee, he had clarified yesterday that it is not permissible to award 2 silver medals in the same weight category amidst the discussion on the disqualification of Indian wrestler. During a press conference on Friday, Mr. Bach responded to inquiries about the possibility of awarding Phogat a silver medal alongside her opponent who lost in the final. And Rika Roy joins us to get us more on this. Rika, what can we expect from this decision? Should we expect anything positive from this particular hearing that is going on and the decision that is yet to come at 9:30 today?
Osama, the hearing happened yesterday and the hearing was done, following which they said that they will close out, they will come to a decision, they will close out on the case by today. So it will come on or before 6 p.m. Paris time or 9:30 p.m. India time. Well, if you ask me whether we can be hopeful, I will not be able to give you a direct answer because the hope is very limited given that, the laws are very stringent and Vinesh Phogat and her team, they were all aware that they needed to manage her weight, keep it within a stipulated limit. And the competition rules have been in place for more than 3 years now, and she was aware and her team was aware as to what to do. Also, they made an appeal just about an hour and a half to the bout for the decision to be annulled. However, the decision wasn't annulled back then. Though CAS did admit her appeal and said that they will hear it at a later time. She made a second appeal then for joint silver medal. It was heard yesterday. There were emotional appeals made to the court by the friends of court like Harish Salve and Vidushpat Singhania, who were appearing on behalf of Indian Olympic Association. That's also been made a party to this case. But whether the court will take the emotional view or not, we'll still have to wait and see. On facts, if you just go by the merit of the case and on facts, it just looks like there's no way to, win a silver. But we'll really have to see because everyone's been saying that this is an exceptional case and there could be an exceptional order as well.
All right, Rika Roy, thank you very much for getting us all the latest from ground there in Paris. In fact, we are at this moment, we are also joined by Mr. Mahavir Prasad, Dronacharya awardee, a former coach of the Indian wrestling team, as well as Jaykush Singh, a sports lawyer. महावीर जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि आपको किस तरह की उम्मीद है? अभी ये डिसीजन आने वाला है 9:30 आज रात में। क्या आप एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे हैं अभी, और क्या लगता है आपको क्या डिसीजन होगा?
देखिए, सबको नमस्कार। और हर भारतवासी और हम सब चाहते हैं कि जो काम सिल्वर मेडल का उसने वर्ल्ड चैंपियन को हराया, ओलंपिक चैंपियन, वर्ल्ड चैंपियन, जो परफॉर्मेंस थी वो बहुत आउटस्टैंडिंग रही। किंतु रियल फैक्ट तो जो आप भी मैं बता सकता हूँ, रियल फैक्ट तो ये है कि जो UWW और IOC के नॉर्म्स है उसमें सबको पता है, विनेश को भी पता था, हम सबको पता है कि दूसरे दिन भी वेट प्रॉपर दिखाना होता है अगर आपको मेडल बाउट में जाना है तो वो गलतियां देखिए हमारे उस स्टाफ से, इसके साथ जितना भी स्टाफ था उनसे गलतियां हुई है और बहुत बड़ी गलती हुई है कि वेट नहीं आना भी एक बहुत बड़ी गलती मानी जाती है। किंतु हम सब भारतीय यही दुआ करते हैं कि क्या पता कोर्ट हमारी इस बात को स्वीकार करे कि उसने सिल्वर मेडल तक का सफर तय कर लिया था, तो इसलिए कुछ संभावना में है कि वो कोर्ट में सिल्वर मेडल ज्वाइंट दे दे। किंतु रियलिटी ये है कि कानून है वो तो ये अलाउ नहीं करता कि आपको वो किसी भी मेडल से दे सकते हैं।
Right. In fact, we also have Mr. Jaykush Singh, a sports lawyer. Jaykush Singh, for our audience, for the viewers, could you explain the legalities that are involved here? And what exactly is this case? Just to make us understand and the viewers understand what this case is actually all about.
See, I tell you, hi, thank you for having me first. See, there is a Article 11 which talks about weight-in, right, of the UWW, International Wrestling Rules जो हैं आपके, when we are talking about international rules. So I just, as being a lawyer, I just read out the Article 8. So can I read out from Article 8, please?
Yes, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Yes. So it says in the bottom, the medical controlled and a first weigh-in will held the morning of the concerned weight category. The qualified athletes for the finals and recharge will be weighed in again the second morning of the concerned weight category, which is important. I'm going to read now. No more weight tolerance will be allowed for the second weigh-in. Very well. Then they talk about, which is most relevant, is 2 kg weight tolerance is allowed for World Cup and for the international tournaments. So Olympics is an international tournament. So when you're talking about tolerance, so I think Mr. Salve will keep his argument to this Article 8. Now, when we come to Article 11, which is weigh-in, it talks about a lot of aspects that, you know, it has to be that how it's going to be with the preparation. There should not be any injury. The athlete should be in proper attire, which is singlet. And they have explained the singlet as well and how it's going to be that, you know, even the nails should be properly cut. But when we talk about Article 15, which talks about elimination from the competition, it talks about one aspect of weight-in, and that is just, which I'm going to read now. After the weight-in in case of a wrestler without medical advice signed by the UWW doctor or the competition doctor, and without advising the competition secretariat, does not present himself to his opponent when his name is called, he will lose his bout by forfeit and will be eliminated, not disqualified, eliminated, and ranked without rank. His opponent will win the match. They don't talk about any of winning category other than this.
Absolutely.
So I'm talking about, it's very ambiguous, the articles which they have mentioned in UWW. And when they have done that, I think we have a good case.
Like you said, having said that, Jaykush Singh, should the Indian Olympic Association remain hopeful for a positive resolution for Vinesh?
I think once our petition before the arbitrator has been accepted, we should be hopeful, and we think that it's going to be a good outcome for the athletes. See, it's a very important event for anyone, especially for the athlete, and she has declared her resignation, his retirement, sorry, after this because of the disappointment. So I think if the if they could consider that. And when we talk about, I have read the rules, which are Article 8, 15, 11, 56, which talks about the medical aspect of medical service intervention. That also says about it. So I think we are clear, but let's see, I mean, what it holds for all
Well,
of
we
us.
are absolutely
We are hopeful as
We are
Indians.
absolutely hopeful, just like you and the rest of the country there. महावीर जी, आपसे एक आखिरी सवाल ये है कि अगर ये डिसीजन विनेश के फेवर में आता है, तो क्या विनेश अपना जो उन्होंने रिटायरमेंट कहा है कि वो रिटायर कर रही हैं, क्या वो रिटायरमेंट वापस लेंगी?
देखिए, ये तो मैं अभी भी हम कोचिज हैं और उनके जितने भी शुभ चिंतक हैं, हम सब रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि उसका आज भी वर्ल्ड क्लास वो रेसलर है हमारी, तो ऐसी बात नहीं है, आने वाला इंटरनेशनल इवेंट में वो इंडिया का तो 24 क्या 28 के ओलंपिक में भी वो हमारे लिए मेडल जीत सकती है। तो ये तो हम सब बात करेंगे, ऐसी बात नहीं, खिलाड़ी जोश जोश में ये चीज़ें डिक्लेयर कर दी, किंतु 10-20 दिन बाद रेस्ट करने के बाद खिलाड़ी जब दोबारा सोचता है तो इसको जो रिटायरमेंट का जो ऐलान किया है उसको तो हम, क्योंकि 2020-21 ओलंपिक टोक्यो ओलंपिक के बाद भी ये बहुत ज़्यादा डिप्रेशन में थी। मैं इनके घर जाके मैंने इनको 2 घंटे तक समझाया था और इसे प्रॉमिस लिया था कि नहीं 3 साल बचे हैं नेक्स्ट ओलंपिक के लिए और आपको ओलंपिक खेलना है और मेडल जीत, भगवान जरूर मेडल देगा और आप गोल्ड मेडल के साथ वापस लौटोगे। क्यों 2021 टोक्यो ओलंपिक के टाइम ये वर्ल्ड रैंक 1 थी, अब तो वर्ल्ड रैंक 1 नहीं थी, उस टाइम तो और ज़्यादा फिट थी, किंतु उस टाइम भी बहुत अनलकीली इसके साथ ऐसा हुआ कि ये एक कुश्ती इस बेलारूस से हार गई और वो आगे हारने के बाद इसको रिपेचेज का भी ओलंपिक मेडल का मौका नहीं मिला। ऐसे ही रियो ओलंपिक में भी ये बहुत फिट थी और हमें मेडल का पूरा उम्मीद था, ये इंजर्ड हो गई। तो हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि ये आगे भी अपना जारी रखेगी खेलना, किंतु ये बहुत बड़ी, ये गोल्ड मेडल था हमारा। देखिए अब देश का अभी तक